Alright, we're live. Okay. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first edition of the 2021 Let's Talk Tropics series. I was going to try and start this in May, but it kind of failed. So I was like, you know what? Why don't we just start doing it in August, right in the middle of hurricane season. But welcome everybody to the stream. We're gonna be doing what we did last year, which was looking at the tropics, and But yeah, welcome everybody to the stream. How you doing, Melly B? Hello, crazy E Ant. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Non-tac 20. Coleman, Coley. Aviation, Hugh, everybody that's in the stream, welcome everybody to the stream. So yeah, we're going to look at the tropics here. We're going to first look at the Atlantic because we've got an AOI in the Atlantic here. A Eastern Atlantic AOI, as you can see. The formation chance through 48 hours is at a low 10%, and the formation chance through 5 days is at a low 20%. So we're still in that kind of low confidence category for this actually developing. So a surface trough of low pressure over the far eastern Atlantic Ocean, which is located a few hundred miles south of the Cabo Verde Islands, is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Now, some slow development of this system is possible during the next couple of days while it moves northward or northwestward before the system moves over cool waters by Thursday. Locally, heavy rainfall and gusty winds are possible over portions of the Cabo Verde Islands through Wednesday. Again, formation chance through 48 hours, a low 10%. And the formation chance through 5 days is at a low 20%. Let me get something up here. Where's my extension at? Here it is. All right. So, hold on. I'm having a blooper again. I'm having a blooper. Just bear with me. just bear with me. Just bear with me, guys. Just bear with me. All right, there we go. So this is where we're expecting it. According to the National Hurricane Center, this is where they're expecting it to potentially develop over the next 5 days. Particularly in this kind of region right here is where we're expecting it to potentially form over the next couple of days, and I'm having bloopers again. I'm trying to learn how to use this new marker thing because I haven't used it in so long. So, hold on. Shoot. I'm screwing everything up, guys. I'm screwing everything up. Okay. Okay, that did not work. That did not work. Oh, shoot. Let's put it at everything's going wrong. Okay, there we go. In this area right here, this is where they're expecting it to potentially form. Around this little area right here. Now, do I think this will become anything? No. Why do I think that? Well, I should have brought up the Saharan dust things. Oh my god. I should have brought up the Saharan dust thing. I don't know where it's at, but it's somewhere on here. It's somewhere on here, I think. I think it's somewhere on here. I don't know where it's at. Just bear with me, and I will find it at some particular point in time. So, if you look closely, alright, you can see we've got quite a bit of dust over here on towards Africa. And what's going to happen is that wave is potentially going to go into that dust, and that dust is going to kind of break the wave apart, and it's not going to form into anything. However, I do want to mention, though, that it does look like there may be a wave that may try to form behind it, and it may have a better chance of actually forming into something over the next 5 days, or next week or so. We'll have to wait and see whenever the wave comes off Africa, but I don't think it's going to be this wave, but I do believe that the wave after this wave have a lot better of a chance of developing. We'll just have to wait and see. But this is where they're expecting it to develop. It's going to be moving into colder waters, so it only really has a few days to actually become anything. If anything, I believe it'll only become maybe a brief tropical depression, maybe, if it does at all. I think it may just remain as an AOI or maybe a brief invest. But overall, I think it's going to go into the cooler waters and it's not going to form into anything. But that's two things that are going to be inhibiting it: cooler waters and Saharan dust. But I have to wait and see, I guess. Go over here to the Eastern Pacific, and yeah, let's just say this. There's quite a bit of stuff going on over here in the Eastern Pacific. We're going to start out with Hurricane Hilda, which currently has maximum sustained winds of 65 knots, or 75 miles an hour, so basically minimal hurricane force. It has a minimum central pressure of 990 millibars. It's located at 15.9 degrees north, 122.8 degrees west. It's moving northwest at 6 knots, or 7 miles per hour. Its current track, as you can see, expected to become a tropical storm very soon, if not even within the next advisory, as we should be getting a new one here within the next probably within the next 10 to 20 minutes or so. Should become a tropical storm, or be downgraded to a tropical storm, I should say. And it should remain as a tropical storm, but be on a weakening trend up until about, I would say, late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, and then we should possibly see it become a tropical depression. We'll have to wait and see, and then it could become post-tropical by Friday morning. So as it will be moving into maybe some cooler waters, we'll have to wait and see. But you can see it's got a pretty big wind field of tropical storm force and just a very tiny little wind field right around the center of hurricane force. Hilda actually peaked at 85 miles an hour, I think. I could be wrong, but I think it was 85 miles an hour. I'll have to look back at the previous advisories, but I'm pretty sure it was 85 miles an hour that it peaked at, and now it's been on its weakening trend. But yeah, it's expected to become a tropical storm very soon, if not already a tropical storm, and it will remain a tropical storm and even potentially become a depression by the time we move into about Thursday morning. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out there. Wind speed probabilities, as you can see, obviously 100%, 90 to 100% chance of tropical storm force winds, of course. This little area right here is the other tropical storm that I keep forgetting the name of. I'll have to look. I don't know how in the world I keep forgetting the name of that storm. Incosnio, or whatever it's called. But these are wind speed probabilities, tropical storm force, 50 knot wind speed probabilities, or 58 mile per hour. You can see chances kind of going down too, 90 to 100% right around the center area. Hurricane wind speeds, well, of course, since it's still technically a hurricane, it still has some chances, but those chances are going down as well. Wind history, if you look at the wind history here, you know, it was a tropical storm for a good while, and then it became a hurricane. I think it peaked at about 85 miles an hour, and yeah, that's basically it. Obviously, there's no warnings or anything because it is well too far away from land, but this is the current wind field. Obviously, the tropical storm force winds are obviously a lot farther than the hurricane force winds, as the hurricane force winds are really kind of confined more towards the center, as it is a weakening hurricane, if not already even a tropical storm. There's not even a key things going on with it as well anyway. So yeah, that's basically it for Hilda. Then we've got tropical storm Incostio, or I've never been able to say this name right. Ignacio, I think that's how you say it. Ignacio. Tropical storm Ignacio has maximum sustained winds of 40 miles an hour, or 35 knots, minimum central pressure of 1,004 millibars, located at 18.8 degrees north, 114.9 degrees west, moving west-northwest at 8 knots, or about 9 miles an hour. This storm's actually expected to die off pretty quickly. In fact, its peak was actually 40 miles an hour, not going to lie, actually. It was either 40 or 45. I don't really remember. I'm losing my mind, okay? But as you can see, you know, it's barely holding on to tropical storm, holding on to a tropical storm. It could even be a depression at this point. We'll have to see whenever the new advisory comes out. But it's expected to become a depression very soon, and could remain as a depression only until about maybe Wednesday, late tomorrow, early Wednesday, is when we expect it to potentially become a post-tropical cyclone, as it's dying off pretty quickly. As you can see, the tropical storm force winds, you know, they only extend to really the northeast part of the storm, so it's really not that really much of a healthy storm compared to what, Hilda was for sure. Wind speed probabilities ain't even that big. There's a little area right here of 30-40% of tropical storm force, but, that's going down. That's probably going down even more. There's not even a chance. There's actually a very little chance, I think, of 58 mile per hour winds. I think it's like, I don't know where it's at, but I think it was right there. I could have sworn I saw it there. And of course, there's no chance of hurricane winds, as it's not even close at all to hurricane force. You can see it's been a pretty weak tropical cyclone. It's not really had that big of a wind field its whole entire life. In fact, its peak was about 40-45 miles an hour. So, of course, it's not going to have that big of a wind field, of course. Again, obviously, there's no warnings or anything because it is staying out to sea. Now, we're going to go over here and we're going to look at the two things over here. So, we've got... I keep forgetting, is it Invest 91E or Invest 92E? I'm not too sure. But it was Tropical Depression 9E, and it's basically the remnants of Tropical Depression 9E. And you know how 9E was. 9E was basically a disappointment. It degenerated into a remnant low and dissipated, and then it got marked again, and it even has the potential of developing again. So you can see through the next 48 hours and 5 days, it has a high 70% chance of reforming into a tropical cyclone. So a low-pressure system associated with the remnants of Tropical Depression 9E is located more than 1,500 miles west-southwest of the southern tip of the Baja California Peninsula. The associated shower activity continues to show signs of organization, but satellite-derived wind data indicates the low-level circulation is still somewhat elongated. Environmental conditions are expected to remain conducive for continued development early this week, and a tropical depression is likely to form during the next day or so, while the system moves west-northwestward to northwestward at 5 to 10 miles an hour. By late Thursday, the system is forecasted to move over cooler waters, and further development is not expected. Again, formation chance through 48 hours and 5 days is at a high 70%. We've got another area of interest over here, which got marked at the 2 p.m. outlook for the Atlantic. Whenever the 2 p.m. outlook came out for the Atlantic, it got marked. So basically, I think it was the 11 a.m. outlook from the National Hurricane Center, and you can see this got a chance of cyclone formation in the next 5 days. Right now, it has a 0% chance of forming, but look at the formation chance through 5 days, already at a low 20%. So an area of low pressure is expected to develop a few hundred miles south of the southern coast of Mexico late this week. Environmental conditions are forecasted to be conducive for gradual development thereafter, while the system remains offshore and moves west-northwestward at 10 to 15 miles an hour, roughly parallel to the coast of southwestern Mexico. So we have the chance of yet another tropical storm possibly forming in the East Pac. And their models were suggesting that it may even go up towards Baja California, so we'll have to continue to watch that. It may go up here towards the desert southwest and bring some monsoonal moisture. We'll have to wait and see. Central Pacific, of course, quiet as usual. You got Hilda over here at the distance. Still waiting on Hone, by the way. We haven't had a tropical system form in the Central Pacific since October of 2019, so it's been about 2 years almost since we've actually seen an actual storm form in the Central Pacific, and obviously that next name would be Hone. Of course, obviously the next name in the Atlantic is obviously Fred. We'll also be watching out for Grace, possibly within the next few weeks, as well as the Madden-Julian Oscillation. Should be moving into the Atlantic. It's kind of been delayed a little bit. I've actually known that a lot of models recently have been showing that the Madden-Julian Oscillation's kind of slowed down a little bit in the East Pac, and it may stay over in the East Pac just a little bit longer, maybe about a week or so, and then it'll really move into the Atlantic, and we really should start to see a big ramp-up of activity in the Atlantic Basin. But I was seeing models that were actually... The models were suggesting that the MJO would stay primarily in the Eastern Pacific for maybe about another week or two, and then basically right around the 20th, which is typically when we start to see tropical activity really ramp up in the Atlantic, it's going to move in, and it's really going to show its presence here probably within the next week or two. So we'll have to continue to watch that, of course, meaning that we could have it in the Atlantic all the way up through mid-September, I should say, which would mean the peak of hurricane season. So yeah, so it's going to arrive just in time for the peak of hurricane season, but we just have to wait an extra week or two, as it does seem, according to some of the models, that the Madden-Joint Oscillation may delay itself before it comes into the Atlantic, of course. So maybe in the Eastern Pacific for maybe another week or two before it does decide to actually move into the Atlantic. So we're going to look over here at Tropical Tidbits. Of course, we're going to look over here at Hilda, which, by the way, no longer has the eye that it had. I think it had a little eye, but I think it's kind of closed up now, so it's not really an eye anymore. In fact, I think this may actually, even be a tropical, maybe a 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm at this point. Still pretty good convection coming out of Hilda, but you can definitely tell it's on a weakening trend. And you can see, according to Tropical Tidbits, it actually says that it has maximum winds of 70 knots, which would, by the way, be about 70 miles an hour. Or 70 knots, actually, if I'm not mistaken. 70 knots is about 80 miles an hour. But 65 knots is 75. Yeah, so Tropical Tidbits says it's about 80, but I don't really believe that. Tropical Tidbits even says the pressure is at about 988 millibars. We'll have to wait and see how that is. The radius of maximum winds, according to Tropical Tidbits, is about 15 nautical miles. And these are the global hurricane models. As you can see, it's kind of heading this way. It's going to be obviously staying out to sea, of course, but there's even a few that may even take it towards Hawaii. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And then you got the Gfs Ensembles, which basically all of them almost take it right towards Hawaii. When it's a remnant low, it really shouldn't be that big of an issue for Hawaii, but it could head towards Hawaii as a remnant low, as most models do depict that possibly being the case. And then you got the Gfs Ensembles, which is just a mess. It goes all over the place. It agrees up until about 24 hours, and then it really kind of starts going all over the place. A few models kind of take it to about 990 to 1,000 millibars, and obviously most of them kind of do take it into a remnant low. The intensity guidance, they all agree that it's on a weakening trend. They all agree that it's going to become a tropical storm very soon, if not already a tropical storm. They all agree a downward trend, and some models even depict, even maybe within the next 120, 132 hours, most models do depict it will become a remnant low, but there is a few models though that kind of keep it as tropical storm. We'll have to wait and see, but those really ain't kind of really reliable models. These are kind of the more reliable models right here that you would take into account for like the intensity and stuff. And most of the models do drop it down to tropical depression or about a remnant low. And then you've got Encosnio over here, and according to Tropical Tidbits, it has maximum winds of 35 knots, which, if you don't know what 35 knots is, basically 35 knots, 35 knots is about 40 miles an hour, so it's basically still at a tropical storm, but even then you don't really know. And then, global hurricane models, most of them, they kind of take it all over the place as well. Most of the global hurricane models take it all over the place. One model actually takes it further to the south. I don't think that's going to happen, because usually that UK model ain't too reliable when it comes to stuff like this. And Gfs Ensembles, all over the place as well. And the Gfs Ensembles are, they're pretty insane as well, too, with one model even taking it as low as 990 millibars. Intensity guidance, they all agree that it's on a weakening trend as well. A few models actually show it may go up a little bit, but it looks like it's mostly going to go down on that weakening trend and possibly even become a remnant low, probably by even tomorrow. And the AVNI model shows it, existing all the way out through 156 hours, so who knows. But I think most models do agree that it will die out within the next 24 to 36 hours for sure. And then you've got this. You got Tropical Depression 12 in the Western Pacific. All right. The model intensity guidance, the Gfs Ensembles, there's only 2 ensemble members of the Gfs that actually pick this up. And most of them, one of them actually takes it kind of in a weird direction and kind of takes it out kind of towards this direction, and the actual GFS model takes it kind of to the north, but still kind of keeps it out to sea. Have to wait for that to see how that plays out too. But then you look over here at the Gfs Ensembles, and man, oh man, is it a mess. Some models take it right onto land, some take it kind of west. I mean, some take it east. It's insane. I mean, there's even a few models that drop it down as low as maybe 980 millibars. But the average, the statistical average, it's averaging out about 997 millibars according to most of the GFS Ensembles. That's the geologic. That's the average, I would say. It's about 997 millibars. And then you've got the GEPS Ensembles, which is also another whole mess. One model actually shows it maybe potentially going over here and peaking at somewhere in the 980s and then making landfall. Most models, though, do kind of keep it out to sea. This model kind of, predicts that the average is about 997 millibars as well. And of course, most things that ain't even in the Eastern Pacific or Atlantic or Central Pacific, they don't even get an intensity guidance thing, which kind of sucks, honestly. I don't know why Levi hasn't fixed that issue. But for some reason they don't give any intensity guidance on any of the other storms unless it's in like the Eastern Pacific, Atlantic, or Central Pacific. It's insane. I don't know why it does that. But this is what the depression looks like currently. It's actually lacking convection right now, but we'll have to wait and see what happens, I would say. Had pretty good convection earlier, but that convection has since kind of died off. We'll see maybe overnight during DMAX or Demon or whatever one we're in right now. We'll see if during DMAX, if maybe it'll, which right now it's actually daytime over there, so it's not really going to do that much difference. So right now they're in Demon right now, so they're not in DMAX like us, but they would be in Demon right now. So of course you're going to have a lot less convection compared to if you were in like Demon. Oops, I did not mean to do that. I'm so unprepared today, guys. I am so unprepared today. I am freaking unprepared. And then you got 90W Invest, which, yeah, let's just say this. There's a lot of activity right now in the Western Pacific. 90W, all right, according to Tropical Tidbits, currently has maximum winds about 25 knots, minimum central pressure of 996 millibars. And by the way, if you guys don't know what 25 knots is, I'm going to show you guys here. So 25 knots is, if I'm not mistaken, like 30 to 35 miles an hour, I think, almost. Yeah, I was close. It's about 28. So it would average out to about 30 miles an hour. So this is about 30 miles an hour, Invest 90W, which is starting to get its act together for sure. As you can see, we're getting some central deep convection in some of the areas right there. And we're gonna, why do I keep doing that? I'm sorry for being so unprepared today, guys. I'm so unprepared. Okay, so the global hurricane models, only 2 of them actually show it anything. Most of them show it hitting land. Navgan model shows it hitting land. And this other model, which I don't know the name of. It's the GFS. The GFS and Navgan model both agree that it'll make landfall. GFS kind of shows it making landfall around this little area right here. Actually, no, right here. The Navgan model is the one that shows it going right here. Keep in mind, I'm kind of unprepared, guys, so don't expect this to be perfect like you would expect with Force 13 or anything. This is not like 100% perfect for sure. GFS Ensembles, most of them show it kind of either skirting land or making landfall. Most of them do agree maybe about 991 millibars is the average statistical average for this invest, about 991 millibars. So basically close to what it's already at right now is basically what it's going to be according to a lot of these models. The GFS Ensembles show it. And there's even one model right here that drops it down to as far as 960 millibars, which would probably be a worst case scenario, of course. But most models, they kind of take it out towards this direction, kind of out to sea, away from, you know, China or Korea or towards Japan. Now, a few models do take it over towards Japan, but most of the models do kind of take it out to sea harmlessly. Maybe a few, impacts, maybe like some swells or something around the coastline. But most models do depict that. It may just maybe skirt the coastline. We'll have to wait and see. And then you got the Gfs ensembles. These kind of concern me a little bit because some of these take it into Korea, some take it into Japan, some take it into Asia. So, and one of them kind of takes it this way and, makes landfall right there. I don't think that one's going to happen, of course, because that's not really how it works. But this one kind of concerns me a little bit, how the Gfs ensembles kind of show it, kind of more closer towards the Korean peninsula and towards Japan, and even up here towards Asia or China. And, that's just kind of concerning, so we'll have to watch out and see what that goes on right there for sure. And then, not only that, you got 96W Invest, which, by the way, is not really going to become anything anymore. In fact, most of the convection is all the way up here, so probably don't expect it to become anything at all. There I go again, closing out the tabs again. I am sorry. But yeah, most of the convection's all the way up there. It's already made landfall, so of course you're probably not going to get too strong. There's only actually 2 models. Navgen doesn't even show it going anywhere hardly. GFS actually kind of shows it going in this kind of direction over the next 48 hours. And then GFS ensembles, they basically all agree that it's going to kind of go in this kind of direction and kind of go north as a kind of a remnant low. And then the GEPS ensembles also kind of agree on the same thing. Only one ensemble kind of takes it right here, about 990 millibars, but most of the models kind of suggest that it's kind of going to go in this direction and kind of go out to sea. This is where the low pressure center is currently. It's right offshore, but most of the convection's already like all the way up there already. So whenever this does actually come on shore, it may survive, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I'll talk about the waves here in a little bit, Justin. And then we got 97W Invest, which actually is, if I'm not mistaken, supposed to absorb one of the invests. I'm not too sure which one it is, but this is what 97W looks like currently. It's got some convection. It's right offshore, though, so I don't think it's going to obviously become anything hardly. I mean, it may become something brief, but if it would, it's right offshore. Not that it's going to actually... Why do I keep doing this? Not that it's going to actually make landfall or anything, but it's something to watch for sure. Global hurricane models, only model that actually shows us is the Navgen model, and it kind of shows it kind of going in a weird direction like this, and kind of at 992 millibars, kind of staying off the coast of Japan. But we'll have to wait and see how that plays out as well. GFS ensembles, a few of them go everywhere. A few of them show it maybe making landfall in South Korea as low as 960 millibars, and then making landfall in North Korea as 960, somewhere in the 960s, and then kind of going up north a little bit. Few of them kind of take it towards Japan. Most of them, though, what's kind of concerning about this is that most of these models actually bring it down to, as low as 970, with even a few dropping it to 960. A few of them kind of skirt the coast a little bit. This one kind of skirts the coast of Japan. But most of them drop it down to about 970, so we'll see what this becomes for sure. But there is one model right here that kind of takes it into South Korea, and then it kind of goes out into the ocean again, and then it kind of makes landfall in North Korea, and then it goes up kind of through Asia for sure. And then most of the models do suggest that it kind of go in this kind of direction right here. And then the GEPS ensembles going all over the place. Some take it over here, some take it into Korea, some take it into Asia. One of them take it out here into the ocean. it's a mess. This one's a mess. Really, the Gfs ensembles they always can't agree on everything. So you always gotta kind of look at the Gfs ensembles for actual info. And then you got 99W, which may become something. Navgen and GFS kind of agree that it could kind of go in this kind of direction right here and kind of make landfall towards Japan, according to GFS, about 120 hours out. GFS ensembles all over the place. Some take it as low as 980 millibars. Most of them kind of take it towards Japan, so I guess we'll kind of wait and see what happens there. But it kind of peaks at about 999 millibars, and it kind of goes over here. So we'll see if it heads towards land. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. And then the GEPS ensembles, a mess yet again. One of them taking it into Japan and then kind of strengthening as low as 970 millibars and then making landfall. But most kind of take it out towards this direction. And the statistical average is like right around this right here. So we'll continue to watch these for sure. But that's all the invests that we have. Obviously, there's no, there's actually no like aircraft reconnaissance missions. You've got an unassigned mission, which basically is technically just a training mission. Of course, it's a low-level reconnaissance flight. They're not flying into anything. This is just an unassigned mission. So don't expect them to fly into anything or anything like that. But I guess you could say they kind of picked up 20 30 knots flight level, but don't expect this to be anything. This is just one of those unassigned missions that they do throughout the hurricane season and throughout the year whenever they're not flying into hurricanes. So according to so these are the remnants of 9. I forgot to look at the remnants of 9 here. You can see these are the remnants of 9. They're kind of getting better organized. You're seeing some central deep convection, as we are in Demon right now. So we're DMAX, but got some central deep convection, some negative 80 cloud tops kind of appearing in the remnants right now, and that's why the National Hurricane Center gives it about a 70% over the next few days, and that's why they expect it to potentially become a tropical depression over the next couple of days as well, because of the fact that it's really starting to pick up with convection, and it could become better organized enough to the point to where it would become a depression again. And then you go over here and you look at the forecast models. We're going to look at the forecast models here. We're going to see what the GFS shows here first. It's usually how I do it. So let's go ahead and let this load in here. It goes out to 384 hours. If y'all didn't see the GFS run yesterday morning, it was kind of concerning because yesterday morning the GFS was showing a wave coming off of Africa, and it was kind of going in this direction. So it was kind of coming off of Africa like this, and it was kind of going up towards this immediate direction. And right around this area, it was showing like 954 millibars. And that was what was kind of concerning, was the fact that it was, actually showing 954 millibars. But I don't believe that it's going to show that anymore. It kind of backed off after the next run. But we're going to go ahead and see potentially what happens here. We're going to see what happens in this mono run. So obviously it doesn't really pick up anything. You got a little frontal boundary coming off the east coast, nothing too major. But look at this. I want you to look at this. All right. This is the area that they have marked right now. This right here is the area that they have marked. This is the area the National Hurricane Center has marked. I want you all to pay attention to it, all right? So, according to this, it's about 1,010 millibars. But look at this. Just look at this. Kind of goes a little bit north of the Leeward Islands, and it kind of dissipates a little bit. But then you got another wave that comes off, and it tries to form. All right, it kind of dies off too, but this is a little sign. That stuff's trying to get going a little bit. You're going to have these signs in the models as we progress through this month, starting to kind of hint on a few things. So, you know, after this tropical wave dies out, the one that the National Hurricane Center has currently, there's another one that comes off, and it kind of goes a little bit farther than that one. So we'll continue to see maybe if it becomes something. And there's a few things going on in the Eastern Pacific. You know, you got a 950-some millibar hurricane right there. We'll be looking at that here in a minute. But you can see this takes it pretty far, not going to lie. Those hurricanes right there. But yeah, so you can see that we've got some tropical waves in the Atlantic. It's still pretty quiet according to the GFS model, but you can tell it's showing some signs of life in the Atlantic for sure. And then you got the CMC model. Well, actually, we're going to look at the European model. All right, we're going to look at the European model. This is as of the 12Z run from the European model. This is the cyclonic vorticity, 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity model, European model. So as you can see, it kind of starts to pick stuff up. As you can see, there's it's kind of got a good cyclonic vorticity around here. There's a little good cyclonic vorticity right off of Africa. This is about 120 hours out. It doesn't really amount to much, but it kind of goes over here towards the Caribbean. So maybe something tries to get going. We'll have to wait and see. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to look at the CMC model and see what it shows. So the Canadian Marine, I keep forgetting what they call the CMC model, but CMC model kind of keeps the Atlantic kind of quiet too. Kind of shows some tropical waves coming off as well. So it kind of stays primarily quiet according to the CMC model. Navgan model, which only goes out to about 144 hours, shows the tropical wave going north towards Cape Verde Islands. But look at this. Look at all of this. That right there is a gyre. All right, that right there would be kind of considered as like an African gyre, and you know, have enough moisture combined with low wind shear and all that. You know, you get a few systems that would kind of spin and they would kind of get their start around there. Maybe we'd try to go out there, but that's kind of a lot of monsoonal moisture right off of Africa. I mean, we're talking some of that goes as high as 5 to 6 right there. The precipitation rate goes to about 5 or 6 inches an hour. So you can see a little bit of some monsoonal moisture coming off of Africa for sure. Little signs of basically what's coming, and there's even a little hint right here of even 6 to 8 as well. So Navgan has a little bit of life, I would say, in terms of monsoonal moisture. And then you go over here to the Icon model, which only goes out to about 120 hours. CMC, most of these models on here are unreliable, but you still got to look at them, though. You still got to look at the models. You know, even though they're usually unreliable, you still got to look at these models. So the Icon model stays primarily quiet, but look at this. Look at this. Look at this ferocious tropical wave it shows coming off of Africa. That's pretty ferocious right there. Pretty ferocious wave coming off of Africa. It's in that monsoonal gyre, and it kind of starts to show little signs of life a little bit. Probably wouldn't become anything, but it kind of shows little signs of life, of course. You just have to kind of watch out for that. And then you're going to go over here. We're going to look at the Eastern Pacific, because why not? Because we've already looked at the North Atlantic. We're going to go ahead and go over here towards the Eastern Pacific and see what it currently shows. So this right here, that would be Hilda right there. That's Hilda. According to the GFS, that's Hilda, and Hilda's on a weakening trend, as you can see. And then you got the remnants of 9 right there. Get as low as 991 millibars. It kind of starts to die out. And then you get this parade of storms that starts to kind of come from the Atlantic into the East Pac. And this is where I was talking about this one storm that they have marked. The GFS shows it getting to as low as 958 millibars, and it kind of approaches the Baja California Peninsula. So we'll continue to watch if the models kind of shift it towards, or even up here towards, you know, even towards the desert southwest, where they could get some monsoonal moisture. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But it kind of peaks at about, I would say, 958 millibars, and it kind of dies out. It's kind of how it's been with a lot of these systems. And then you got another one that kind of starts to get its life together. And this one this one is something to kind of watch out for. Hold on, my game is still. I don't know what's up. Okay, I'm just going to turn the volume down. There we go. But the GFS shows another storm, and it kind of goes up here towards Central America. It makes land and kind of stalls out a little bit. Look, so you see, like, it kind of stalls out a little bit. It doesn't move at all. It's 975, and then it kind of starts heading, to the east or to the it kind of starts heading to the west. But or the east, I don't know. But see, it kind of stalls out a little bit for a few days or a few frames. It kind of stalls out a little bit. So maybe could we potentially get a hurricane kind of stalling out over here towards the western coast of Central America? We'll have to wait and see. Same thing kind of goes on. I mean, the CMC model kind of agrees that it's going to try and get some stuff together, and kind of takes that first one, kind of takes it towards the Baja California Peninsula, of course. And then there's another wave that tries to get itself together again. Navgan model kind of starts showing the same thing a little bit, only that it doesn't really show any activity past Hilda and that remnant low. Kind of quiet, and then you have the icon model kind of quiet as well. But even this model kind of shows possible tropical development right here. So, you have to continue to watch these models, because there's 2 out of the models that I've been looking at on here that take it up towards the Baja California Peninsula. So you have to watch out for that for sure. We're going to go over here to the analysis tools now. We're going to go over here and look at the ocean analysis. So we're going to look at the North Atlantic. You can see most of the North Atlantic is pretty warm, not going to lie, especially the Gulf. A lot of areas in the Gulf are between 30 and 32 degrees Celsius, with areas right there around the Louisiana coastline that actually hit 32 degrees Celsius. Like right around this little area right here, you got a little area of 32 degrees Celsius. We've still only got about 25, 26 degrees Fahrenheit around the Capo Verde Islands, but I still believe we're probably going to see some warming around that area by the time we get to peak season, so I don't think that'll be that big of an issue. We can see we've got some pretty warm tropics, from Africa all the way to the Caribbean and all the way up into the Gulf. I mean, the Gulf is boiling right now. We're talking, again, like I said, the Gulf is boiling right now, 30 to 32 degrees Celsius, and right here towards the panhandle of Florida, it's pretty hot. It's pretty hot, because if we look over here into the western Atlantic, we're talking 32 degrees Celsius down here in the Keys. Bad case scenario is if we would get a hurricane that would come out of the Caribbean and would kind of go in this immediate direction, would kind of turn. What if it went into this 32 degrees Celsius waters before it made landfall? What would happen? What would happen? Would we see it kind of strengthen a lot before landfall because of these 32 degrees Celsius waters? It's extremely warm right down there in the Keys. And, the worst case scenario too would be if we had a Laura type storm where it came up into the Gulf and it kind of took advantage of these 31, 32 degrees Celsius waters, and it kind of went up either to Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, or Florida. Florida especially, since Florida, everywhere in the Gulf except this portion of right here at the top of the Yucatan Peninsula. Right there. That's the only area that I'm seeing in the Gulf of Mexico that actually is below 30 degrees Celsius. It's pretty alarming, don't get me wrong. Kind of reminds me a lot of last year, how we kind of warmed up the Atlantic for so long that the fuel that we had for tropical systems was there, really even through November. And how November was. We had Eta, and then we had Iota, which went right into this area right here. And even those areas right there that got hit pretty hard by those 2 hurricanes, even getting close to 30 degrees Celsius as well. But, not only that, but, we've also got some 30, 31 degrees Celsius waters right over here, which is why a lot of these systems are getting pretty good and organized around the Eastern Pacific, because you got pretty good warm waters over here. But the Western Atlantic, for sure, is pretty ripe, especially the Gulf. The Gulf is extremely ripe in terms of sea surface temperatures for a tropical system to go in there and just rapidly intensify. I would hate to say this, but I have a gut feeling that we're probably going to see another Laura type system where it comes out of the Caribbean and it goes into the Gulf, takes advantage of these 30, 31, 32 degrees Celsius waters, and then kind of hits anywhere from Texas to Florida. We'll have to wait and see, but it's kind of alarming for sure. I mean, we're talking, even if a hurricane was to come up through here towards the, towards like the Bahamas, even towards the Bahamas, we have 30, 31 degrees Celsius waters, and if it would go up towards the East Coast, it has the Gulf Stream, which is as warm as 30 degrees as well. I mean, it's very alarming, folks. Don't get me wrong. It's pretty alarming in the Western Atlantic how warm it really is across a lot of the Western Atlantic, especially in the Gulf. And like I said, if we get a system that comes out of the Caribbean and goes into the Gulf, it could take advantage of those warm waters, and it could just, and if the conditions are ripe, if it has enough relative humidity, and if it has low enough wind shear, it could take advantage and could just literally explode in the Gulf. That would be a very bad sign for us to see. And then you go over here to the full tropical Atlantic. This is the tropical Atlantic right here. You can see right around the Cape Verde Islands, it's still kind of 25, 26 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can kind of, 26 degrees is typically when you'd start to kind of see tropical development being favorable. 25 is just under that threshold. But look at this, right on top, right around this area, we're talking there's only sea surface temperatures as high as 20 to 21 degrees Celsius. That's pretty cold for this time of year for sure. But that's really not where too many tropical cyclones get their start this time of year. It's typically around this area, and a lot of these areas right here are still between 23 and 25 degrees Celsius, which isn't too warm for tropical development. But if it would come off of Africa, say like right around here, it would have enough warmth to kind of go into the Caribbean or kind of go this way and affect the land, or kind of go out to sea. It could easily take advantage of these sea surface temperatures if it kind of comes off of Africa like this. So it's kind of concerning. You then look over here into the Eastern Pacific. Very alarming sea surface temperatures in some parts of the Eastern Pacific. I mean, look at this. Around coastal Central America right here, I mean, we're talking 30 to 31, even 32 degrees Celsius, even over here towards the Baja California Peninsula. I mean, it's so weird because look at this. Look how different it is compared to this part. I mean, so right here, it's like 30 to 31 degrees Celsius, all right? 30 to 31 degrees Celsius. You go over to the other side, it goes all the way up to right here, 30 degrees Celsius. You go over here to the other side, and it's like 19 degrees Celsius. That is a huge difference, and that's insane how much of a big difference that is. I mean, you go from 30 degrees Celsius over here to 19 degrees Celsius. I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal how cold it is up there. And how, I mean, because, that's up there towards California, and typically California doesn't get any tropical cyclones because of how cold it usually is. That's just phenomenal how it's 30 degrees Celsius right there. But on the other side of the peninsula, it's like 19, 21 degrees Celsius. I mean, that's insane how that's playing out right there. Most of the Eastern Pacific's relatively warm, obviously with a few areas of 27, 26, 28 degrees Celsius waters. Most of our storms are kind of heading out into this immediate direction. So, of course, that's why they're kind of dying out, is because they're going into this immediate direction into cooler waters. But I just find it so phenomenal that it's like 31, 32 degrees Celsius over here, but then it's like 20 to 21 degrees, even 19 degrees Celsius over there. It's just absolutely phenomenal how that kind of plays out for sure. Central Pacific, it's kind of warming up a little bit too. It's actually been relatively below average for quite a bit of the hurricane season, but to the west of Hawaii, we already got some 27, 28 degrees waters. But to the east of Hawaii, you still have those 25, 26 degree waters. And even some of the islands around the islands, surrounding the islands, you still have that kind of 24 to 26 degree Fahrenheit, 26 degrees Celsius. And there's a little dot up here of 26, 27 degrees. It's not been too favorable in terms of sea surface temperatures in the Central Pacific this year, and of course for the past few years, I should say. But it's just not too warm. I mean, all the really ample fuel is kind of to the east of Hawaii. So if you want to get a big ample hurricane, you would want to get a hurricane kind of going through here in these like 28 degree, 29 degree waters. And it kind of goes up here. I mean, that's kind of a far turn for a tropical cyclone to take. And then you look at the Western Pacific, and oh god, it's pretty insane. I mean, this is typical for this time of year. 30, 31 degrees Celsius around the Philippine Islands, up there towards portions of China and all that, and 29, 30 degrees Celsius up here towards the Korean Peninsula and towards Japan. This is typical this time of year. But it's definitely warm. It's bathwater for sure in the Western Pacific. And then you go down here to the Southwestern Pacific. It's not really hurricane season or cyclone season, as I think they refer to it down there. So of course you're not gonna have the sea surface temperatures down in Australia for you to have any tropical cyclones. Although I will want to mention though that you do have some 31, 32 degrees Celsius waters still kind of down here, even though it's not going to really, even come down here until we get into the summer months, which summer's still quite a few months away in the southern hemisphere. But, 24, 25 degrees Celsius. But even the top bit of Australia has like 28, 29 degrees Celsius waters, but nothing is probably going to form, of course. And then you got Australia itself, of course. We were just looking at Australia. And then you got the Indian Ocean, which is really warm. It's between 29 and 30 degrees Celsius in most of the basin. I mean, look how crazy this is, bro. I mean, this goes off the charts right here. 34 degrees Celsius. Could you imagine a tropical cyclone coming from, say, right here and going all the way in here? Could you imagine? God, that'd be absolutely insane. I mean, look at that, though. You go from, your typical 29, 30 degrees Celsius. You go all the way up here. It's 34 degrees Celsius, literally off of the charts. That would be absolutely insane. Because it's not possible. But if you got a tropical cyclone that came up here, just imagine how fast that thing would intensify if it wasn't between land. I mean, that's insane how warm that is, off the charts. That's freaking insane. 34 degrees Celsius. And that's the only area it's 34 degrees Celsius at all. Like, that's insane, my dudes. It's pretty insane how you go from 28, 27 degrees Celsius to 34 degrees Celsius up here. It's kind of phenomenal how that plays out. That's just insane, my dudes. That's just insane. And you got the South Atlantic, which most of it's kind of where it should be this time of year. And then you got the upward portion, 27, 28 degrees. So, you can maybe get one thing that may try to form, but overall, it's usually pretty quiet, though, in the South Atlantic. We're now going to look over here. Sea surface temperature anomalies. You can see it's been relatively above average across most of the Atlantic basin, especially the Gulf, which has been as high as maybe 1 degree above average. You can see this is kind of where our La Nina is kind of setting up a little bit. Eastern Pacific still relatively above average as well. The Western Pacific having that marine time heat wave still going on. So of course, I think it's still going on. So of course you got that kind of sea surface temperatures as high as 5 degrees above average because you got that marine time heat wave going on right there. It's absolutely phenomenal how it's playing out. It's still kind of cooler than average around Africa though. But we're actually near average across most of the main development region. And going into the Caribbean, you kind of start getting into those kind of more, kind of above average or slightly above average. And you go into the Gulf, and it's like really above average. And even in the subtropics, we got a lot of areas even in the subtropics that are kind of, above average right here as well. Maybe a few little areas of below average, slightly below average sea surface temperatures, but it's quite warm in some of these areas. We're talking, even though it's like 17, 18, 19 degrees Celsius up here, it's still relatively above average for this time of year. But the Gulf is boiling, and that's why the Gulf's kind of slightly above average. But there's even a little area right here that's kind of average for this time of year in the Gulf. So maybe we'll see if that changes or not. But you kind of got that marine time heat wave over there in the Western Pacific, kind of causing that to be as high as 5 degrees above the long-term climatological average for this time of year. It's just the marine time heat wave that they've been having up there for the last few weeks, I think. I don't know how long it's been going on. Now, the 7-day change, you can see this is where the La Nina is kind of starting to set up a little bit. Some areas about 1 to 2 degrees below average. The Eastern Pacific's kind of starting to go a little bit below average. Atlantic, kind of above average in certain areas, especially around Texas and Louisiana. We're talking some above average sea surface temperatures around there. Relatively speaking, though, it's pretty above average in the Atlantic Basin for sure. And then we go over here to the Nino, the Southern Oscillation, the Enzo. You can see we've had quite a few drops and quite a few increases. So around May 10th, we kind of went below towards negative 0.2. That was around the time that we had somewhere around this time we had around this time right here we had Anna, and we were kind of in that kind of above that negative 0.0 degrees Celsius range, and we kind of went back down towards the beginning of June, and then we went back up. This is when we started having our activity. It kind of picked back up a little bit, and we kind of stayed above average for really basically the whole month of we stayed above the line for really the whole month of June, and really the whole month of July almost. We stayed practically above the line, and we peaked at almost positive 0.4 degrees Celsius, and that took us almost close to the kind of warm neutral type conditions right there. And then we really started falling after we got to about July 5th, or the beginning of July is when we kind of really started falling, and we kind of kept falling. We had a little bit of a rise, and then we had a big dip around the 19th and 20th, 21st, and then it kind of went back up, and then it really went down. We were talking, it went almost down to negative 0.3, and now it's kind of going back up a little bit. It's now at negative 0.207 as of the latest run. But it took a huge dip. It went from, I think, almost 0.1 in the positive range all the way down to almost negative 0.3. And by the way, negative 0.4 is weak La Nina territory. So we got relatively close to that La Nina threshold for sure. But we're kind of going back up again. We go over here to the MDR. The MDR is starting to kind of warm up a little bit. It's kind of been below average. It's kind of been below the line, but it's kind of starting to warm up a little bit, as you can see. But it's still, still well below that line for sure. And then you got the Gulf of Mexico, which is just absolutely insane. We had a big drop after Elsa, but then we kind of started improving, and we kind of went up, and we've kind of been going up ever since. So it's definitely concerning that the Gulf of Mexico's warming up. And globally, the global sea surface temperatures have kind of they've kind of stayed around here since May. They kind of went down a little bit, but then they kind of stayed up as well. But yeah, now. We looked at that. This is the shear in the Atlantic. There's pretty favorable conditions in terms of shear in the Gulf, between 5 and 15 knots. It's relatively favorable, 5 to 10 knots. Most of the Gulf is pretty favorable, but just to the north of that is 50, 60, 80 knot shear. So, of course, if a tropical system was to go in the Gulf right now, it may be healthy, but then it kind of goes up towards, Florida's Panhandle or Alabama and all that, Louisiana, and it kind of gets sheared apart because of this kind of 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 knot shear. It's pretty insane. It's pretty insane, my dudes. Pretty insane. MDR is relatively above normal, but there is a lot of areas that are near normal. Yeah, if Elsa would have moved relatively slower than it did, because you know how Elsa was. Elsa moved, so fast for most of its life that it didn't allow time for it to strengthen. Because if it would have slowed down enough, it probably would have become a Category 2 or maybe even potentially a major hurricane. Just my opinion, but it's possible that if Elsa would have slowed down, we probably would have seen a much worse scenario for Florida and probably Cuba, and even Barbados. We probably would have even seen a much worse scenario if that would have happened. I mean, could you imagine a major hurricane in the beginning of July? It would kind of set you up with kind of that 2005 type vibe, for sure. But it was pretty insane. Also, we've got a new advisory on Hilda, so we're going to go ahead and look at Hilda here. So Hilda is still 75 miles an hour, pressure 990 millibars. It is located at 16.4 degrees north, 123.3 degrees west. It is moving northwest at 6 knots or 7 miles an hour. This is the current advisory, expected to become a tropical storm relatively soon, maybe within the next full advisory, which comes out at 5 a.m. Eastern time, which would be about 2 a.m. Pacific time. So around that time, I think, I could be wrong, but I honestly, in my honest opinion, believe that Hilda will at least be a 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm by the next full advisory. We'll have to kind of wait and see what plays out there. In Ignacio, still at 40-mile-an-hour winds, maximum central pressure of 1,005 millibars, moving northwest at 8 knots or 9 miles an hour. It's got a really short life ahead of it. We're talking becoming a depression relatively soon, and could even potentially become post-tropical by early Wednesday morning. So this has definitely got a much shorter life ahead of it. And we'll be getting a new outlook on these two waves right here. This invest right here in this new AOI or area to watch, I should say. So AOW or ATW, I guess we could call it that, ATW, until it gets officially marked, and then we could call it an AOI. But we should be getting a new outlook for these two waves right here very soon, so we'll have to see what plays out right there, and we should be getting a new outlook for the wave in the Atlantic as well, so we'll kind of watch out for that. We've got 17 people watching this stream. I did not know we had that many people watching this stream. What is your thoughts on the Atlantic disturbance? Well, I wasn't too surprised, because I felt like because I said this last week. I said on the Discord server, which, by the way, if you guys haven't joined the HSWC Discord server, y'all should definitely join it. One of the moderators on my stream would send a link to the Discord server. That'd be very appreciated. But I'm not too surprised that they marked it, because I had a feeling, even last week, that they were going to mark something around this time, because there was a wave that was going to come off of Africa, and it kind of had a little bit of momentum to it, and I kind of felt like it was going to kind of be marked, and I even said it yesterday that I would think that it would be marked, and it got marked. it still surprised me a little bit because, you know, I was still kind of expecting when the 2 p.m. outlook came out, I was kind of expecting, you know, nothing. But, you know, here we are, and we actually had a new area to watch. And not that this will become anything. If anything, maybe a short-lived depression, but that's the high-end spectrum. So right now, I'd say maybe at least an invest at most right now, but who knows? Just have to wait and see. But we get a new outlook on all these, on this AOI in the Atlantic, AOI in the Pacific, and this area to watch, which could even potentially be marked at the 2 a.m. Or 2 a.m. outlook for them, which would, I think, be the 11 p.m. outlook for the Eastern Pacific. But yeah, we'll continue to watch the tropics for sure. I don't know what to do now, though, guys, because I've kind of ran out of stuff to say. We got like 17 people watching the stream. Yes, that's what I was talking about, Bryce. That's what I was talking about. There was a wave that a lot of the models agree is going to come off of Africa after this wave kind of gets killed off a little bit. They all agree that there may be a wave that comes off of Africa, and it kind of has a better chance of developing. So we'll maybe see if that becomes a kind of short-lived tropical cyclone. But this one for sure, this one right here, I don't think is going to become... I don't think this one right here is going to become, you know, a tropical cyclone. At most, it's probably going to be an invest, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I do think the chances will go up a little bit because it's going to be in these kind of warmer waters for a little while before it kind of starts heading north into these kind of like cooler waters here. So there's cooler waters around, you know, this area right here. So we'll definitely kind of continue to watch it a little bit because it does have the potential to maybe become something brief, maybe a depression, but at most I think it's just going to become an invest, a short little lived invest in the Atlantic. But I think the second one's definitely probably going to have a little bit of a better chance actually forming into something than say this wave right here. That's going to right there. And in fact, if we go over here and we actually look at tropical tidbits, and we go over here and we look at the satellite imagery for the Eastern Atlantic, you can kind of see the wave. It's not really in the visible satellite imagery yet, but it's kind of somewhere around that area. It's not on the screen yet, but it's somewhere around like where my cursor is, I'm pretty sure. Somewhere around here, and it's going to come off over the next couple of days. This right here is the tropical system right here. This right here is the wave right here. This is the wave right there. That's the wave right there. All right, that's the wave. And next few days we should have another wave that comes off of Africa. So yeah. Basically, I'm going to say this, alright? The Madden-Julian oscillation was actually supposed to arrive this week, but models have suggested that it may delay itself in coming in the Atlantic. Like, a lot of models suggest that it could go into the Atlantic around the 20th. Around the 20th of August, and you know what the 20th of August is. That's usually when activity really starts to ramp up in the Atlantic Basin. So it's looking like that the MJO is kind of delaying itself till we get to about peak season. So I'd say another week or two in this kind of suppressed phase, and then we're going to really start to see that activity really kind of start to ramp up in the Atlantic Basin for sure. So I think the East Pac is going to be on fire for the next week or two. May, you know, get quite a few more named storms. We may get to, I'm predicting probably, we may get to like the L or M named storm. I mean, who knows? We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But I think the East Pac's going to be on fire for the next few weeks. But then once we get to, I would say maybe about the 15th to the 20th, is when I would say is when the Atlantic's really going to pick up and really kind of start to make up for lost time for sure, because that's when our peak begins. And, models before today, I think we're actually depicting that around the peak season, we were going to see kind of a suppressed phase. But since the Madden-Julian Oscillation is kind of delaying itself, we may actually not have to worry about that suppressed phase until we get more and more into September. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But it's looking like right now we only have to wait maybe an extra week or two, and then we should be ripe for development in the Atlantic for sure. But we'll have to wait and see. You never heard my voice before? Well, here's my voice. But models, I was kind of suspicious on the models when it came to September, because it was showing a suppressed phase of the Madden-Julian Oscillation in the Atlantic during peak season. It was kind of suspicious. And then the models updated, and now the Madden-Julian Oscillation is going to kind of delay itself into going into the Atlantic. So it's going to kind of be in the East Pacific for, say, another week or two, and then it's really going to start coming into the Atlantic and really going to start seeing activity ramping up. And I would hate to see a storm come from Africa all the way into the Caribbean. Hold on. I would hate for a storm to, come off of Africa, say, right here, and then kind of go into the Caribbean, and then kind of go up here into the Gulf. Because if it went into the Gulf, it would hit those very warm sea surface temperatures. 31, 32 degrees Celsius. And anywhere from Texas, really all the way to the Florida West Coast would be in danger. So I would hate to see that. It's probably going to happen, which is why you need to be prepared. But I would hate to see something like that happen, because I feel like that's going to happen because of the position that the Bermuda High is going to be set in this year again. It's going to kind of take the storms kind of towards the U.S., so it's going to kind of be definitely a pretty bad season again, probably for sure, for the Gulf Coast. We'll have to wait and see, because it kind of feels like this season's kind of Gulfy again, like it was last year. But we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens over the next few weeks to see if we get any tropical activity that kind of comes from Africa and then kind of goes into the Caribbean and it goes up into the Gulf and kind of affects anywhere from Texas to Florida. We'll have to wait and see. And there may even be a chance that we'll probably get some stuff that goes even into the east coast of Florida. That was even a chance yesterday, and even today on the European model, it was showing a 984 millibar hurricane heading towards the east coast of Florida. So, continue to watch the models for sure over the next few weeks. Even though we're in the suppressed phase, you can still get development, mainly from frontal boundaries or any fronts or anything that come off the east coast or anything. You're going to possibly have some maybe brief tropical cyclones that try and get its act together if it gets in the right area, and then you're going to get that. So honestly, in my opinion, I think Fred along with Grace could be pretty bad systems if it waits until we get into that Madden-Julian Oscillation. Once the Madden-Julian Oscillation enters into the Atlantic, I think it's going to be a bad case scenario for us, because not only are we going to have the Madden-Julian Oscillation, we're going to have the Atlantic Nino, and that combined with the Madden-Julian Oscillation is going to mean trouble for the Caribbean and even up to the East Coast. So, because if you combine the MJO with the Atlantic Nino, which by the way is re-strengthening, we could have a really bad case scenario in the MDR. And not only that, we could have a bad case scenario for, just the Gulf and East Coast. Really from Texas all the way up to Maine. It would be kind of a big issue with the Atlantic Nino and the MJO combined. So that's what I'm concerned about, is because we're going to have the Madden-Julian Oscillation and the Atlantic Nino. It's probably going to be a pretty bad MDR season, so I'd hang on tight. We'll have to wait and see, but I honestly believe we're probably going to have a pretty bad MDR season, as we really didn't have that much of an MDR season last year, as a lot of our storms kind of formed more in the western Caribbean. We had a few storms like Isaias, but we didn't really have too many named storms form out of the main development region last year. But I think we're going to have more of a better MDR season this year. I think we're going to have more of a better African season this year too. A lot of our activity wasn't really around Africa. A lot of it really came from the Caribbean, or the Gulf, or anywhere else. It really didn't come too much from Africa. We had Laura and Marco, but we're talking about storms that actually formed near Cape Verde, the Cabo Verde Islands, and then kind of track over in these kind of directions. Those storms didn't form until they got into the Caribbean. So who knows? We'll wait and see. Do you think the La Nina will come early? Well, right now we don't expect. Well, in fact, if you look at the mid-July predictions for the Enzo, it's looking more likely of neutral conditions through the peak of hurricane season. But we'll have to wait and see, because early July, it was going crazy. Early July, I think it was showing peak season La Nina. So, we'll have to wait and see for sure. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. I gotta get a drink of water because my throat's dry. I think I've talked so much that I've given myself a sore throat. Legend has it Paulette is crossing Africa right now, getting ready to take her revenge. Yeah. Look at the Central Pacific satellite. Okay. Let me go over here to the Central Pacific. You've got a lot of monsoonal moisture kind of going on down here. You've got some stuff going on down here, but will it become anything? That's the question. We haven't seen anything in the Central Pacific in over 2 years almost. So it really makes you wonder if maybe one of these little things right here. It really makes you wonder if one of these things down right here, if maybe one of these little things right down here maybe become Hone. But we haven't really had anything in the last 2 years in the Central Pacific. So, but you just don't know. You don't know with tropical weather. It's one day there's nothing, next day you can have a full-fledged tropical storm. It's just how it is sometimes. But down here it's really warm to support tropical development. You even got some outflow on a few of these little areas right here. But do I think it'll become anything? Probably not. We've not seen anything in the Central Pacific form in almost 2 years. And, B, a lot of our storms that have came into the Central Pacific have been from the East Pacific. Usually, because last several years, the Central Pacific, their storms have come from the Eastern Pacific. For example, Lane, which kind of went in this direction a little bit. It's not too much of a big. I wasn't really trying to like do that, but we really haven't had good Central Pacific activity in quite a while. It's been pretty quiet for for a few years, and it's to be expected because the Central Pacific is actually a pretty quiet basin on average, but we didn't even see a named storm in the Central Pacific last year, and in fact, if you look at NOAA's prediction thing here for it, I'm going to try and find it here. I'm trying to find it here. See, hold on. No, that's 2013. I don't want to look at 2013. Where is it? I'm trying to find it where they had the prediction and stuff. I'm trying to find where they had the prediction, the Central Pacific prediction. I think, wait, hold on. I keep forgetting where it was at. Oh, it's right here. Here it is. Because, see, they're expecting a near or below normal 2021 Central Pacific hurricane season, but their average, the Central Pacific's average, is like 2 or 3 named storms, I think. Yeah. Like a near normal season, I was close. A near normal season has 4 or 5 tropical cyclones. So it's usually pretty quiet in the Atlantic. Not the Atlantic. I keep saying the Atlantic. Central Pacific. They expect 2 to 5 tropical cyclones, but most of the tropical cyclones that come into the into the Central Pacific are actually from the. Most of the cyclones you see in the Central Pacific actually come from the Eastern Pacific. For example, being Douglas right here, but it's just you don't typically see that much activity in the Central Pacific because an average season only averages, maybe you being lucky, maybe 2 systems on average. That'd be you'd be lucky to see 2 systems in the Eastern Pacific that actually form in the East. In the Central. Why do I keep saying Eastern Pacific? You're lucky to see 2 named storms in the Central Pacific because most of our storms, you haven't even seen a named storm form in the Central Pacific since 2019. So it's been quite a while since we've had an actual named storm form in the Central Pacific, and it didn't cross over from the Eastern Pacific into the Central Pacific. So it just goes to show you right there that just how inactive Central Pacific is, and it just has a lot to do with the environment that goes on in the Central Pacific. So most of the time the Central Pacific is not even warm enough in a lot of the areas to support any tropical activity, and again, like I said, most of the activity mainly comes from the Eastern Pacific, and it's not only that too, but it's the lack of tropical disturbances in the Central Pacific that kind of makes it kind of lack a lot of its activity. Say you were in the Atlantic or the Eastern Pacific. So it's definitely quiet for sure. It's usually very quiet in the Central Pacific. It's just how it always has. I mean, like I said, the last year we even had a named storm form in the Central Pacific. In the Central Pacific was 2019. So it's been a very long time. Well, even in El Nino events, the Central Pacific is lucky to pull out two named storms. If I'm not mistaken, I have to look it up again. I keep forgetting what season is the most active one in the Central Pacific. But most active Central Pacific hurricane season. It was 1968. I knew it was somewhere in the 60s. I just didn't remember what one it was. It was like 1968. They had 6 hurricanes. And that was more the whole Pacific Basin. That was like the most active in this whole basin. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I was going to mention that. With all the rising air and the environment, surprisingly, with all the activity, I mean, we've gotten all the way to the I-named storm in the East Pac, all right? But we've only managed to get one major hurricane in the Eastern Pacific. Most of our systems have been tropical storms. We may be, at a fast pace in the Eastern Pacific in terms of names, but, we've hardly had any hurricanes. I mean, you look here, the 2021 Pacific hurricane season. We've only had... wonder why it's like... What's going on with this? We've only had, 3 hurricanes. I mean, most of our systems have been tropical storms. We've only had one big storm. I mean, we're in the month of August, for Pete's sake. And we've only had one big storm. We've only had one major hurricane. And that was Felicia. Most of our named storms were tropical storms. I mean, we've only had 3 hurricanes, one major hurricane, and basically just all of our storms in the Eastern Pacific has basically almost all been tropical storms. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So see, look, we may have had 9 total named storms, but look, we've only had 3 hurricanes and 1 major hurricane. All right. So, and of course, the damage only it costs is only like $100 million because not too many storms ever go up into the land, of course. But for such an active season in the Eastern Pacific, we've not had that many hurricanes and that many major hurricanes. We've only had one major hurricane. So, I mean, it's just mind-blowing that we've gotten all the way to the I-named storm so far, and we've only had 3 hurricanes. I mean, literally, 3. 3 hurricanes. All right? I mean, 2020. I mean, 2020 was a big disappointment, somewhat, for the Pacific. I mean, we had 17 named storms, don't get me wrong, but 4 hurricanes and 3 major hurricanes, which is pretty good, not gonna lie. And in 2019, we had 19, 7, and then 4. 2018, which was an El Nino year, we had 26 depressions, 1 that was unofficial, 23 named storms, which was 1 being unofficial, 13 hurricanes, and 10, yes, you heard that right, 10 major hurricanes. This was the 2018 Pacific hurricane season. And then you go to 2017, and yeah, that was pretty depressing. They had 18 total storms. 18 total storms, 9 hurricanes, 4 major hurricanes. I'm not sure, but I think our highest. What is so funny is how the strongest named storm in the East Pac, or for the whole Pacific hurricane season in 2018, was the W named storm. So it basically took all the way almost to the end of the naming list for them to get a Category 5. Which, obviously, Category 5s is pretty rare in the Eastern Pacific, of course. So, I mean, of course, you're not gonna see a Category 5 like every single time, because it's pretty rare to actually get a Category 5. And it was actually really kind of in the, I think it was in the Central Pacific. I'm not too sure, but like it's pretty rare to get a Category 5 in the Pacific. Well, in the Eastern and Central Pacific, it's kind of rare. And then 2016 was just insane. I mean, 23 total depressions, 4 that were unofficial, by the way. 22 storms, 13 hurricanes, and 6 major hurricanes. And then you get to the really active, crazy storm. I mean, literally. You had 31 depressions in 2015, which was a record high, by the way. 26 total storms. 16 hurricanes, which, by the way, was a record high, which was tied with 1990, 1992, and 2014. And a record high of major hurricanes at 11. 11. 2015 was an insane year for the Pacific. And then you had the record latest dissipation of the of a tropical cyclone in the Pacific. December 31st, 2015, the last day of 2015, that set a record. That literally set a record. And then you go to the 2014 season, which was another crazy season. 23 depressions, 22 total storms, 16 hurricanes, 9 major hurricanes. And then 2013, was pretty stupid. It was pretty duddy in terms of major hurricanes. 1 major hurricane, 9 hurricanes, 20 total storms. So, it was, yeah. The 2015 East Pac season was pretty insane. We got all the way to the S name storm in 2015. And what's convenient too is it's the same naming list. It's the same naming list. So we did better with this list in 2015 than we did this year so far. I mean, frick. Our first 2 named storms, Andreas and Blanco, were Category 4 hurricanes. The 2021 Pacific hurricane season is a joke. I mean, this is the same naming list from 2015. And in 2015, we did much better with this list than we did in 2021. It's pretty depressing, not gonna lie. I mean, literally, look at this. Andreas, Category 4. Blanca, Category 4. Carlos, Category 1. Ella, Tropical Storm. Dolores, Category 4. What was Dolores in 2021? A tropical storm. In fact, Dolores was literally a 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm this year. All right. Hilda, Category 4. Hilda this year, Category 1. Peaked at 75 miles. No, peaked at like 85 miles an hour. So it's been pretty it's been pretty bad. The season's been pretty bad. However, though, we actually did better with Intrigue with Iraq or whatever his name, whatever the name, however you say the name, Iraku or Iraku or whatever. We actually did better in 2021 with Iraku than we did in 2015. so that's one thing that we improved on in 2021 is that we actually got Iraku to Category 1 hurricane compared to a tropical storm in 2015. You know, and I really wonder, honestly, like, what happened in 2013? Like, I still wonder to this very day, what happened in 2014 that caused every basin except the Westpac to be so inactive? Not 2013. 2013, not 2014. 2013. What caused... I seriously don't know what caused every basin except the Western Pacific to be inactive in 2013. Like, seriously, what caused the basin to be all basins to be so inactive in 2013? The East Pac improved in 2014, but we kind of sucked in 2014. Not gonna lie. Let's go ahead and look at the past for us. All right, so we're gonna start out with the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season. So far we've seen 5 depressions, 5 total storms, 1 hurricane, and 0 major hurricanes. Of course, we've not seen the peak of the season yet, so of course we haven't seen our strongest storms yet. But 2020 being the crazy year it was, we saw 31 depressions, which was tied with 2005. Record high of storms with 30, 14 hurricanes, 7 major hurricanes, $51 billion. So, yeah, I mean, 2020 was a pretty bad year. Of course, we all know 2020 was a bad year in the Atlantic. And 2019 came along. We had 20 depressions, 18 storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. But only $11 billion, and most of our damage actually came from Dorian. Being one of 2 Category 5s that year. We did pretty good. Not gonna lie, we actually did pretty good in 2019. I mean, we got 2 Category 5s, even though most of our storms were, like, depressing. We literally got 2 Category 5s. I mean, you got to give us credit there. We were actually able to get 2 Category 5 hurricanes in 2019. And then you go to 2018. Even with an El Nino, we did pretty good. 15 storms, 8 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. I mean, even though we were slightly below our average of major hurricanes, it's still pretty good with hurricanes and total storms and all that. We still totaled $50 billion, and mostly coming from Florence and Michael. But, we only got like 1 Category 5 in 2018, and that was Michael. Florence could have been a Category 5, but it chose not to. But, even most of our storms in 2018 kind of sucked. From the exception of Florence and Michael, most of our storms kind of sucked. Yeah, that's what was so weird about 2018 was both major hurricanes that formed in the Atlantic hit the United States. So, like, the only two major hurricanes that we had in 2018 hit the United States. Florence and Michael. And keep in mind, we were in an El Nino, and we still did good. We did pretty good. I mean, for an El Nino season, we did pretty good. And then you got the crazy 2017 season. Yeah. 17 storms, 10 hurricanes, 6 major hurricanes, 3,000 total fatalities, the costliest season on record being $294 billion. Surpassing 2005. I mean, you know, with 2017 only having 17 named storms and 10 hurricanes and 6 major hurricanes, it is absolutely mind-boggling that we surpassed 2005's costliest season record. But we did really good in 2017. I mean, we literally got 2 Category 5s. We had Irma and Maria. Jose was extremely close. I think it was 155, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Jose was extremely close to Category 5, so he could have had 3. What's so weird, though, is, you know, Jose, because, you know, Jose stayed out to sea, of course. Jose was so strong, but only caused like $2 million. It only costed one person's life. Yeah, 2017 was more of a fish year, I would say. I mean, even though we had a few good storms like Harvey and Irma and even Maria, we still had pretty blank activity in 2017. I mean, it took all the way to like September before we actually. It took all the way to like August till we actually started getting activity quite a bit in the tropics in 2017. I mean, for a La Nina, we did pretty good, but compared to 2020, we did pretty bad. In terms of named storms. And then you have the 2016 season, the start of the above-average streak. You know, that was an El Nino, and we did pretty good in 2016 for an El Nino. I mean, we had our first Category 5 since 2007 in 2016. We kind of started a whole streak of Category 5 hurricanes. And not only that, but we kind of started our season quite early because we had a hurricane in January in 2016 with Alex. And I just realized next year we have the same naming list with Alex. So I'm going to go ahead and say this. Since Alex has become a hurricane for 3 straight seasons in a row that it's been a name, I'm just going to go ahead and safely assume that Alex is going to be a hurricane next year. Which was more active? It was definitely 2020. 2020 was definitely more active. Which was more active? It was definitely 2020. 2020 was definitely more active. But like knowing that Alex has been a hurricane almost every time for the past 3 consecutive seasons that it's been a name. I mean, look, all right. So 2004. It was a hurricane. 2010, it was a hurricane. 2016, Alex was a hurricane in January. I'm going to safely assume that next year, when we use the naming list that includes Alex, Alex is going to be a hurricane. I'm already calling it. I already know for a fact Alex is probably going to be a hurricane. Every single time past 1998, Alex has been a hurricane. And what was so weird about Alex in 2004 was, it was so close to land, but it rapidly intensified into a Category 2 hurricane. And then, when it was heading out to sea, it became a Category 3 hurricane. But, I honestly believe at this point, Alex is probably going to be a hurricane next year. So I would be safe to assume that our A-name storm next year is probably going to be a hurricane, because Alex has that reputation. I mean, the Western Pacific used Alex before we did. I mean, they used it in 1980. And in the South Indian Ocean, they used Alex in 1981. And not only that, but conveniently, there was a storm named Alex for an extratropical cyclone that hit Europe. How did Alex become a hurricane in 2016? January 2016? Well, basically, it had a lot to do with... It didn't really have a lot to do with the ocean. It had a lot to do with the environment. Not really environment, but I don't know how to explain it, but it had a lot to do with, the temperatures or whatever. I'm not too sure, and, its speed or something. I'm not too sure. It was a weird cyclone, though. But, it became a hurricane unexpectedly because of some factors. I keep forgetting what factors it was. But every time since 2004, Alex has been a hurricane, so I think it's safe to assume Alex is probably going to be a hurricane again. So, yeah. I mean, and who knows, maybe Alex will get retired next year. Maybe we'll finally see the end of Alex when it should have ended in, 2010. Was Gert a tropical storm? No. Gert was not a tropical storm. Gert was a Category 3 hurricane. Or Category 2. I think he was a Category 2. Yeah. It was a Category 2 hurricane. I think. Yeah, it was a Category 2 hurricane. Gert was the first Category 2 of the year, basically. I honestly believe Alex is probably going to actually be a hurricane next year. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, just knowing that for the past 3 seasons that Alex has formed, it's become a hurricane, I think it's just safe to assume it's probably going to be a hurricane. Let me fix this. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't know why in the world. What in the world is going on with this? Why is my screen doing this? It's never done this. I don't understand why it's doing this. And then you get the 2015 season, which is the season that we have currently. This list always has a reputation of being bad. in terms of names. Like, it's always inactive. This list always has a reputation of being an inactive season. And I'm kind of scared that we're going to be having an inactive season again because of this name. Because of this naming list. Yeah, actually, Alex actually replaced Andrew, so technically the name could be cursed. So maybe that's why it became a hurricane every 3 times. Check the years with Arlene. All right. Let me go back to 2017. Okay, tropical storm. I think Arlene's been around for like since the 1970s, I think. Oh no, the 1950s, yeah. Yeah, Arlene's been a failure of a storm for like so many years now. I mean, it's been a name since the 1950s. I mean, Arlene has only become a hurricane 3 times. And one of it was a Category 3. I mean, literally. Arlene has failed every single time. And keep in mind, look at this. Arlene has been used for 11 tropical cyclones, making Arlene the most frequently used Atlantic storm name. That's how bad of a name it is. And yeah, that's what's kind of scary, because every season, all right, every single season that has the name Arlene has been active, all right? 1959, 1963. Look at this. 1963. Active. 1967. Active. Well, basically active. Look how many depressions that 1967 had. I mean, look how much of a failure June through August had. Arlene is not an original name. Arlene is not an original name. I think. I'm not too sure. It actually could have been... Yeah, it was an original name. Yeah, Arlene has been one of the original names. Arlene's one of the last original names that are still used today. I mean, literally, Arlene has been such a failure for so long that every year, it's only been a hurricane 3 times. It's been a tropical storm more than it has been a hurricane. 1953. Hold on. Alice. It was the replacement of Alice. I completely forgot about that. I think it was the replacement of Alice. No. No, it was not. No, it was not. Florence was used in 1953. So, really coming to think of it, I think it was Abel. No, I really don't know. I think it was Alice. Because 1953 was when they started using the naming list. Fun fact, by the way, guys, if y'all didn't know this, here's a fun fact about Florence. Florence was actually the last OG name in the first naming list. Basically. So basically, Florence is one of the oldest names that was still used. Florence was used from 1953 to 2018. All right, that's... Oh, if you look here, all right, 1953 to 2018. All right. 1953 to that's 65 years. Florence was the last original name from the first naming list. So Florence had been used for 65 years. And then they got it retired after its Category 4 landfall. And then you had such an inactive period from 65 to like 88 or 87 that it took so long to get to Hurricane Florence in 1988. I mean, it took 20-some years to get Florence again. I mean, literally, there was a huge gap between 1964 and 1988 because that was around the time period when we were in like the dawn of the negative NAO or AMO or whatever it was. So it took 20-some years, all right, before we got a Hurricane Florence again, and it took till 1988 to get a Hurricane Florence. Yeah, Florence, there was a 20-year gap where Florence wasn't used because it was so inactive from 65 to 87. Do you think Alex will form in January? No. I don't think we're going to see that kind of storm for a long time. Because the last storm to do that before Alex was in 1938. So, yeah. I mean, it's kind of depressing though. Arlene hasn't been retired. It's been used for it's been used for almost like 60 years. I mean, literally. I think Sally was... Wait, hold on. Hurricane Sally... Sally's only been used once in the Atlantic season, and that was obviously 2020. If I don't know how long it's been a name, but I think see the Western Pacific, they actually used the name Sally back in 1954, and they used it until 96. So, but in the Atlantic, it's only been used once, and I forget what it was replaced with. So I have to go back. I don't know how long I have to go back. Maria, if we look at Tropical Storm Maria, I'm going to show you guys this, all right? Maria's actually only been used since 2005. Yeah, Maria's actually been a relatively newer name. Maria's only been around since 2005. So, it's only used for 3 seasons, so it's been a hurricane all 3 times. Also, I'm going to look at the GFS because I know a lot of y'all want me to look at it because the new model run that's coming out for it. It's kind of bullish, I would say. Jesus freaking Christ, bro. 1005, bro. That's only 114 hours out too, bro. That's insane. But yeah, Maria has only been used since 2005. All right. I know it sounds like an old name, but it's only been used since 2005. Harvey, though, I'm going to show you guys this. I'm going to show you guys this. Harvey's been used since 1981. It finally got retired. Harvey was used first in 1981, and, you know, he got retired in 2017, so... and there was even a Cyclone Harvey in 2005, the same year as Tropical Storm Harvey in 2005. Cyclone Harvey was depressing. I mean, it was a Category 1, Category 3 severe tropical cyclone, but it was only like, it was like 75 miles an hour, but it was like a Category 1 equivalent. But yeah, Harvey... Cyclone Harvey was used in the Australian basin in 2005, but Harvey's been used way longer than Maria. In fact, let me go back to Maria. Tropical Storm Maria. Let me go back to Maria here. So, if I'm not mistaken, let me go back 6 years. So, 6 years from 2005. 432 is 1999, or I don't know what replaced. Yeah, we didn't even get to the M name storm. Hold on. 6 years from 1999, 876-543, 1993. I'm not too sure what storm replaced 92, 91, 90, 89, 88, 87, 1987. I don't know what... I'm trying to find the season that... I'm trying to... Hold on. I don't know. Oh yeah, Martha. It replaced Martha from 1969. So, keep this in mind, alright? It replaced Martha. Alright? It replaced Martha from 1969. And it hadn't been used until 2005. So yeah, Maria had been a name since 1970, but it had not been used. It had not been used till 2005. Now, if we look at let's look at Cindy. Tropical Storm Cindy. Cindy's only been used since... Actually, no. Cindy has been used since 1959. Alright. A lot of y'all probably think Cindy's a lot younger than it is, but Cindy is actually a relatively old name. 1959 being the first year it was used in the Atlantic. And it was even used in the Southwest Indian Ocean in 1998. Yeah, 1959 is how long Cindy's been a name. Was there a drought in Puerto Rico? I'm not too sure. I'll have to look that up. What came? Okay, hold on. 2017 Atlantic hurricane season. I gotta look at this here a minute. Okay, I want to see how long Brett's been a name. Brett's only been a name since 1981, so. What's kind of funny is Brett's only been a hurricane once, and that was a strong Category 4. Like, literally, it's Brett has only been a hurricane once, and that was in 1999 when it was a strong Category 4 hurricane. It has been a tropical storm more than a hurricane. Anna, I'm going to show you guys this. Anna has been a name since 1979, and it's been a tropical storm every single time. It has never been a hurricane. Anna has never been a hurricane since it got named over 40 years ago. The Central Pacific had much better. Anna had a much better, Anna was much better in the Central Pacific. It was actually a hurricane. It was actually a Category 1 hurricane in the Central Pacific. Literally, Anna had better luck as a hurricane in the Central Pacific. Elsa's only been a name for like a year because it replaced Erica. Well, Elsa's only been a name for like one season because it replaced Erica. It replaced Erica in 2013, I think, or 20. I keep forgetting what year it was. But it's only been used like once, so. But fun fact, the name Elsa was actually used in 1975 in the Indian Ocean. So, yeah. Basically, Elsa was only used once in the 20th century. But yeah, this was the first time. You know what's kind of funny? How Elsa, this being her first season, she's had a much better beginning than her sister. Erica got retired because of her flooding. In fact, let me check something here. Erica was actually only a name since 1991. And it was only a hurricane twice. Once it was a Category 3 and once it was a Category 1. Poor Erica. No, Irma went north of Puerto Rico. They had hurricane force winds in Puerto Rico from Irma, but the eye wall and most of the hurricanes stayed well offshore. In fact, there was actually damage still from Irma when Maria was coming in, so. Hold on a minute. I'm going to look at another thing here. How long's Emily been a name? I feel like Emily's been around a long time. I really feel like Emily's been around a long time. It's only been around since 1981. Cross Bermuda. And then you have Franklin. Franklin's only been used since 2005 because it replaced Floyd in 1999. Yeah, little do y'all know that Franklin is actually the replacement of Floyd. And it's only been used for 3 seasons, and it's only become a hurricane once in those 3 seasons. Gert. I want to see how long Gert's been a name, actually. I'm going to find that hilarious. Gert has been a name since the 80s. Gert was its strongest in 1999 because it was a Category 4 hurricane. Laura wasn't around that long because it replaced Lily just like a few years ago. Yeah, because I know Laura. Yeah, Laura's only been around since like 1971. Because it replaced Lily. I think, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Laura's actually only been used 3 times. It was only used 1 time in the 20th century, in 1971. It wasn't used until 2008. Yeah, Laura's been a name for over 40 years. Actually, 50 years as of this year. Laura's been a name. Yeah, Laura's been a name for 50 years as of this year. Basically, Laura got retired on her 49th year of being a name. Yeah. But like, we had such an inactive period from the 70s to like, from the 60s to the 80s, early 90s. So that's why Laura wasn't used that much, and it wasn't even used only 1 time. It was only used 1 time in the 1970s, and even ever until the 2000s. I mean, Laura's only ever been used 3 times since it got named in 1971. And this is what Laura looked like in 1971. All right, guys, this is Laura from 1971. Yeah, that's Laura from 1971. Can a hurricane make landfall in Washington State? No, it cannot do that because of the sea surface temperatures. And then this was Laura in 2008. This was Laura in 2008. This was Laura in 2008. And then here's the beast of Laura. Laura was a disappointment 2 times, and then she finally. She finally showed everybody. Let me go look at Bill. I actually want to look at Bill. Tropical Storm Bill. I know Bill ain't too old. Yeah, Bill's not too old. Bill's only been used since 1997. So it's only been used for 23 years, 24 years. This was Hurricane Bill back in 1997. Only made it to 75 miles an hour. But this was Bill. Dorian was only used for 1 season. Actually, no, 2 seasons. Dorian was a disappointment in 2013. And then it was the strongest Category 5 on record almost in 2019. See, look. Because Dorian was the replacement of Dean. Because of Dean's Category 5 landfall. Dorian was only used for 2 seasons. It was a depressing category. It was a depressing tropical storm. In the 2013 season, by the way. And then Dorian made his presence known 6 years later. And now Dorian's being replaced with Dexter. So. And watch Dexter get retired in about a year. Or a few years. Billy Bob. Oh yeah, Bill. Bill was actually the replacement of Bob. Literally. Like, literally, search it up. Bill, Tropical Storm Bill, or Hurricane Bill, or whatever. Bill is literally the replacement of Bob. Alright, let's look at Kirk. I think Kirk is like a really old name, if I'm not mistaken. Surprisingly, Kirk's only been used 2 times. 2012 and 2018. So Kirk is actually a relatively new name. It's only been used 2 times. 2012 and 2018. Who did Kirk replace? Let me check. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. 2006. Wait, I ain't checking the 2006. Wait. That season's going to be depressing. I don't think it was 2006. No, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2000. 2000 Atlantic hurricane season. Hold on. Kirk replaced Keith. From 2000. Yeah, so Kirk is the replacement of Keith. From 2000. Yeah, so Kirk is the replacement of Keith. In fact, let me check something here. Tropical Storm Donald. No, it's never been a storm. Donald has never been a storm. There has never been a name called Donald. Tropical Storm. I know Hillary's been a name. Yeah. It's like an Eastern Pacific name. It's been used since 1967 in the Eastern Pacific. It's like an Eastern Pacific name. It's been used since 1967 in the Eastern Pacific. But it's spelt different. Hurricane Trump. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Hurricane, Tropical Storm Joe. Oh, that's actually a name. Guys, that was actually a name. That's actually a name. For the 1983 typhoon season. Joe was actually a name. Joe Hurricane Biden. Yeah, I wish. I'm just kidding. Hurricane Biden. Oh, God. How about Nancy? Here, let me try something here. I want to see. I know Ida is relatively new. Because I know Ida replaced Isabel. Ida replaced Isabel, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure Ida replaced Isabel from 2003. But yeah, Ida's actually a relatively new name too. It's only been used. In Western Pacific, Ida was actually used in 1945. So yeah, there's that. Well, Ida's only been around in the Atlantic since 2009, but it's been a name in the Western Pacific since 1945, so it's relatively old. I think David, Hurricane David, if I'm not mistaken. Hurricane David, hold on. David was only used for like only used for like one season. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, David was only used for one season. His debut season, he got retired. David was only used for one season. His debut season, he got retired. Hurricane Balls. Jose's been a name since 1981. And it's only been a hurricane twice in its whole entire life. As being a name. No, it does not exist. Oh yeah, Hurricane Dog. I forgot about Hurricane Dog. Oh yeah, Hurricane Dog. I forgot about Hurricane Dog. Why did they stop using Dog as a name? I want to know. Why did they stop using Dog as a name? I really want to know why they stopped using the name Dog for for the names. Like, it makes no sense. Like, why did they stop using dog and fox and easy? Alpha. Yeah, alpha. I'm going to show you guys this. Let me show y'all this, okay? All right. Alpha was actually used in the Atlantic Ocean in 1972. Like, I found this out just recently. Alpha was actually used in the Atlantic in 1972. But keep in mind, Alpha was before Agnes. So it was just like, that was the way they named subtropical storms back then, because they named Delta in November. See, Delta was a name in November of 1972, because back then they were just starting to name subtropical storms, so they used the Greek alphabet instead of actual names. So they actually used Alpha and Delta before 2005 as subtropical storm names. Agnes was retired after like... Oh, yeah. Its costliest hurricane hit the United States at the time. Yeah, Agnes was only used once. And that was 1972. It got retired in 1973. So. Yeah, literally, Agnes was only used once, and it got retired. So, and it was a Category 1 hurricane too. So, this was damage from Agnes in Key West, by the way. For a 90-mile-an-hour Category 1 hurricane, it was pretty bad. Yeah, 1951 was like dog, easy. Yeah, it was like Abel, Baker, Charlie, dog, easy, all that stuff. Hal was even a name. Literally, Hurricane Hal. Most basic name in existence. Literally, Hurricane Hal. It's like they're questioning how it became a hurricane. Literally. Hurricane Hal. There was item, really? Wait, hold on. Hurricane item. Bruh, there was... Bruh. Hurricane item. Hurricane... Bro, what the... Hurricane Love. There was actually a name of Hurricane Love. Hurricane Love. Literally, Hurricane Love. I knew about Hurricane King. Everybody knows about Hurricane King. But, like, Hurricane Love. Hurricane Fox. Yes. Everybody knows about Hurricane Easy, Dog, Charlie. I think Charlie actually was kept as a name for like a long time, if I'm not mistaken.
Apparently, look at this. Zebra, yoke, X-ray. Imagine Hurricane X-ray. Hurricane X-ray. That was a name in 1950. X-ray. Hurricane Uncle. Hurricane Sugar. Hurricane Queen. We didn't get to these names, but imagine. Literally. Sugar. Uncle. X-ray. Zebra. What kind of pisses me off is that they went all the way to the Z name in 1950. Like, why do we only go to the W name? I mean, we had names all the way to Z in 1950, but now we only go to W. I mean, literally, Hurricane. I mean, imagine this. Imagine all these names got used: Hurricane Zebra, Hurricane Yoke, Hurricane X-Ray, Hurricane Uncle, Hurricane Sugar, Hurricane OB. This is killing me, bro. This is killing me, bro. Sugar. If I'm not mistaken, Tropical Storm Charlie or Hurricane Charlie was actually used for a long time. Or I thought it was. I could have sworn. Why'd they get rid of Hurricane? Oh, I know why. Yeah, I know why they got rid of Charlie. They got rid of Charlie for that reason right there. I was wondering why they got rid of Charlie. I think Charlie was actually one of the first names that they actually used. So. Like, besides the Abel Baker and all that stuff, they actually used Charlie. So. Charlie was actually one of the first names. You can go to the 1952 season. You had a tropical. Look at this. There was a tropical storm in February in 1952. A fully tropical storm in February. No, Charlie, that's a different name. Charlie, they spelt it different. They spelt Charlie, like Charlie was a name in 1951, but it was spelt as Charlie. And it was even used in 1952. Because this was before they retired name storms, so they used the same names over again, even if it was a Category 5 and it devastated the whole entire place. But yeah, there was a literal tropical storm in February in 1952. And it literally hit Florida as a tropical storm, almost. And this was in February, mind you. This was in February, alright? And we had a tropical storm in February going up the East Coast. This is the February storm right here. See, Tropical Storm 1, alright? This is the February storm right here. February 3rd, and it peaked at 70 miles per hour in February. A 70 mile per hour tropical storm in February. And then we had Tropical Storm 3, which made landfall very near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Tropical Storm 3 actually made landfall near Myrtle Beach in 1952 because Myrtle Beach was actually a city in 1952, if y'all didn't know that. The storm weakened over land and dissipated over eastern Kentucky. But February, like, bro, like, what, a 70 mile an hour tropical storm in February, bro. Like, that's pretty friggin' insane. Oh, and then we had Hurricane Carl. Oh God, oh God. Had Hurricane Carl, yeah. That storm was bad. Let's not even mention that storm. It's pretty bad. Even though it cost like $2 million, like I was joking about the whole bad thing. This was the first name since they started naming storms that actually became a Category 5. You had Florence. This is the first year Florence was used. Yet Irene. Oh yeah, I want to mention this, guys. I want you guys to look at this. Before Irene got replaced with Irma. Before Irene got replaced with Irma in 2017, Irene had been used since 1953, and it finally got retired in 2011, replaced with Irma. By the way, wanted to tell you guys that Irene had actually been a name since 1953, and it got retired in 2011 and replaced with Irma. What's kind of funny is how Irene stayed a storm for like close to almost 50 years, almost. And then Irma, her replacement, gets retired her debut season. Like, Irene was a name all the way back in 1953. And then it was used in 1959. And then there was a 20-some year period where Irene was not used. And this was the one where Irene crossed into the Eastern Pacific and it was named Olivia. Of course. Hold on. I don't really know, honestly. When was the last time Georgia was hit with a major hurricane? Hurricane David. 1979. Well, that was the last time a hurricane made landfall in the state. Hurricane David. 1979. Well, that was the last time a hurricane made landfall in the state. like at hurricane intensity. Also, 1898, by the way, 120 years, over 120 years. It's been 123 years since Florida had a. Also, 1898, by the way, 120 years, over 120 years. It's been 123 years since Georgia has last had a major hurricane landfall. Wait, Irma was actually used before 2017? Really? Hold on. Hold on. Bruh. Why'd they not use Irma for so long? Why'd they make... Why'd they not use Irma for so long? Why'd they not use Irma for 20 years, for 30 years? That's kind of weird, though, how they used Irma as a name, and they didn't use it for 30 years. That's kind of weird, though, how they used Irma as a name, and they didn't use it for 30 years. Irma's actually a pretty old name, though, not gonna lie. I mean, 1949 in the Western Pacific, 1967 in the Indian Ocean. I think it was Andrew, if I'm not mistaken. It was Andrew, like over 30 years ago. Like, Miami hasn't been hit by a major hurricane in over 30 years, so... I wonder how long... Wait, hold on. Tropical Storm Lee. I want to see how long this thing's been a... Lee's only been a name since 2005. So, he's actually relatively new in the Atlantic. I did not know that. Lee is relatively new in the Atlantic Ocean. That's actually something I didn't know. I thought Lee was actually a little older than that. But he replaced that old wrong way Lenny. Old wrong way Lenny. It's old. I actually forgot that Lee replaced old wrong way Lenny. Like, Lenny was such a weird storm. Like, I just, everybody knows old wrong way Lenny. But I actually did not know that Lee was the replacement of wrong way Lenny. hold on. I'm gonna try and think of something here. I know Cody has only been a name for like one season or 2 seasons because of Katrina. Because obviously we all know Claudia is like the replacement of Katrina. We already know that. I just find it so lazy that the World Meteorological Organization literally just took the T off of Rita and put an N. And just made it Rena. Like seriously, like we're not gonna notice that. They literally just took the T off of Rita and put an N, making it Rena. Like that's the most laziest change of a name I've ever seen. What do you think? What places do you think will be hit the hardest this season? I have a feeling that Florida is probably going to get hit by a few big ones this year. How long has Nate been a name? I know it's probably been quite a while. Nate's only been used since 2005. Bro, I could have sworn that Nate had been used a lot longer than that. Bro, I actually cannot believe they're actually going to use the name Nigel for Nate. Like, I honestly cannot believe that they're actually going to use Nigel as the name that's going to replace Nate. Something hilarious is every time Nate formed, it became a hurricane. But it was always a Category 1 hurricane. Lee never became a Category 2, never a Category 3, never a Category 4, never a Category 5. He never became anything but a Category 1, and he gets retired as a Category 1. Hold on. What else? I could have sworn Franklin's been a name, but Franklin's only been used a few times. Ophelia. Let me look at Ophelia, actually. Bro, Ophelia's only been used since 2005. Bruh. 2005. I could have sworn it's been a lot older than that in the Atlantic. I could have sworn. I don't know how old Dawn is, actually. I've not checked Dawn. Dawn's only been a name for 2 seasons, and, and they've both been weak tropical storms. Poor Dawn. It's funny too because it's like Dennis put a curse on Dawn, because every time Dawn's been a name, he's been weak. Like literally, I literally believe Dennis put a curse on Dawn because every time he's been a name, he's been weak. A weak tropical storm. Because it replaced Dennis, and I just believe Dennis like gave a curse to Dawn. Because he's only been weak 2 times. Every time he's been named, he's been weak. Like, look. Tropical Storm Dawn in 2011. 50 miles an hour. Tropical Storm Dawn in 2017. Look at this. 50 miles per hour. Both times that it's been a name, it's peaked at 50 miles an hour. Look, I'm gonna show you guys this. All right. All right. Okay. Tropical Storm Don in 2011 peaked at 50 miles an hour, 997 millibars. Tropical Storm Don in 2017, 50 miles an hour. It's been weak. His feet at 50 miles an hour, both times. Wait, hold on, I'm gonna look at another one. Let's look at. Let's look. I've actually been very curious. I'm actually very curious how long this one's been a name. How long Felipe, or I don't know how to say it. You're meaning to tell me that was only used since 2005? Bruh, I could have sworn a lot of these names are a lot older than they are. Let me look at Michael, actually. I'm gonna look at Michael, because I know Michael's probably pretty old. Not gonna lie. Actually, let me look at Alberto. I don't think anybody's ever considered on how old Alberto is. Like, nobody's ever considered that. 1982. What's the replacement of Alberto? I mean, what name caused Alberto to become the replacement? Let's see here. It became a name in 1982. 81, 80, 79, 78. Let's look at 1976, because I don't get it. I guess it just was one of the original. I guess it was just original. I don't know. Did y'all know that before Anna, we had Anna? Anna never got retired. I think they just stopped using the name. Okay, let's look at the next one. Hurricane Burial. I've actually wanted this one for a while. Wait, Tropical Storm. Yeah. Let me look at the wiki again. I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna do it this way, my dudes. I want to see how long Burial's been a name. 1982. And it has only been a hurricane once, and that was its recent. Bro, it's only been a hurricane once. Bro, that's depressing, not gonna lie. And not only that, it was an unusually small Category 1 hurricane. I remember tracking Burial in 2018. But it's been a name since 1982, though. That's pretty great. What about Chris? Chris sounds pretty old, not gonna lie. I mean, doesn't Chris kind of sound old to you guys? Let me know. 1982. Has been a hurricane 3 times. Its highest was in 2018 as a Category 2. I remember tracking Chris, too. How about Debbie? I swear to you. I swear to you, Debbie sounds very old. Bro, the first year Debbie was named, it reached Category 4 strength. It could have gotten retired because it grazed Bermuda. There was no significant damage. Bro, literally the first year Debbie was used, it became a Category 4 hurricane. And it was on the brink of retirement, but did not. What about Ernesto? Ernesto's pretty new, though, if I'm not mistaken. Ernesto ain't even that new. I thought he was pretty new. Only been a hurricane twice. Once as a Category 1 and once as a Category 2. Wonder how long Gordon's been a name. Sorry if I'm boring you guys. I'm just kind of wondering. Gordon has been a name since 1994. Gordon's been a name every single time except 2018. It's kind of hilarious. It kind of breaks the streak. Helene. I know, Ernesto from 2012 was like the worst one. I don't understand how they didn't retire that thing. Helene, bro, I did not know how long Helene had been a name. It's been a name since 1958. Bro, I did not know how long Helene. I thought Helene was like a lot younger than that. But Helene has actually been a name since 1958. And there was a, let's see here. There was a 30-year absence with the name Helene because of the negative AMO. But, bro, Helene has been a name since 1958, and this is Helene right here. Somehow did not get retired. I don't know how they did not retire this. This is Helene from 1958. Like, I honestly did not know Helene was this old. Alright, what about the next one? Isaac. You know, Isaac should have been retired in 2012. No doubt about it. Isaac was first used in 1988. I mean, really, it cost $3 billion. You would think they would retire Isaac. Yeah, Harvey's replacement is Harold, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Joyce has only been a name since 2000. And the other two times Joyce has been a name did not affect land. Did not affect land. Bro, Joyce is cursed. Even in the Pacific Ocean, stayed out to sea, did not affect land. A strong Category 1, that did not affect land. Joyce has like a curse of like staying out to sea. Leslie. I think Leslie's pretty old, if I'm not mistaken. I think I remember something saying that Leslie was pretty old. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Wesley's only 21 years old. Now let's look at Michael. I think Michael's been around a long time, if I'm not mistaken either. Michael's only been around since 2000. It's been a hurricane every single time. Bro, I just noticed something. Look at this. Michael in 2000 was a Category 2 hurricane. Michael in 2012 was a Category 3 hurricane. Michael in 2018, Category 5. So it kind of went up every single time. Every single time Michael was a name, it went up. So 2000, it was a Category 2. 2012, Category 3. 2018, Category 5. Bro, that is insane. It's like it was... It's literally like it was... Like, literally, it was like... It was... Like... Michael was gearing himself up because he knew in 2018 he was going to be a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane. But that's just something, though. Category 2, Category 3, Category 5. That's something how he just kind of went through the categories. You know, I've actually wondered how long was Sandy a name? I've wondered this for so long. No, I want to see. Sandy's only been used once, of course. I know that, but the first year Sandy was used, it got retired, and it was a superstorm. You know, who would have thought that the first year that Hurricane Sandy was used, it'd be a superstorm. Hold on, let me look at Nadine. I think Nadine ain't that old. I remember Nadine ain't really that old. Yeah, it ain't that old. You know, here's something, though. Nadine, you know, being a tropical storm, both 2000 and 2018, never affected land. Nadine actually set a record in 2012 as the fourth longest-lived Atlantic hurricane on record. Since then... Oscar. Oscar's an old name. I've already calling it Oscar's an old name. Has to be. It has to be. Bruh. No freaking way. There's no way in the world Oscar has only been used for 6 years, for 8 years. No, 9, yeah, 8 years. Sandy actually wasn't too old, but like, you know, it was the first time an S name had been used in a long time. Well, actually, for the first time ever, I think. And it was like retired, so. And it became a superstorm, so. But Oscar, I'm very surprised though, because I know Oscar's pretty new. What about Patty, actually? Wait, I want to see Valerie, because Valerie's a 2018 name. And was a 2018 name. I want to see, because Valerie just sounds old. Alright? You're kidding me. You're freaking kidding me. It's never been used? It sounds so old. I kind of wonder if maybe it was a name. I think Sarah was Sandy's replacement, if I'm not mistaken. wonder how long. Okay, let me look at Patty or Sarah. I know Sarah's only been used for one. Sarah was never been used. All right, Sarah is Sandy's replacement. Because this is the same season as Sandy, and Sandy's replacement is Sarah. Or Sarah, or I guess that's how you say it. Sarah or Sarah, I don't know how you say it. Tony was used once. How about Raphael? I don't think Raphael's been used. Because, you know, like a lot of these kind of storms haven't been used. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Raphael was used in 2012, but that's the only time he's been used ever, so. Let me look at 2019's list. Andrea. I'm saying this right now. Alright. Tropical storm. Andrea. Andrea's only been a name since 2007, and it's never been a hurricane. It's been a subtropical storm 2 times, and only a tropical storm once. Because it's replaced Allison, which was, you know. Yeah, Andrea replaced Allison. But Andrea has been pretty depressing ever since. Like, it's been a subtropical storm 2 times and only a tropical storm once. So she's still got 5 years to redeem herself. So no, 4 years. I'm gonna wonder, how old is Barry? Knowing how depressing he was and how, you know, weird he was, I want to see how old Barry is. 1983, bruh. I want to see if Barry was better in 1983. 1983. Bruh. Barry wasn't even that organized in 1983. Barry has a curse. Barry has a curse of just being stupid. But, like, Barry has made no improvements since becoming a name. He's been a name since 1983. And he's only been a hurricane twice. 1983 and 2019. Even 1983, he looked trash. What's kind of funny and ironic too, though, is like every storm I think almost that Barry's been has been like a Gulf storm almost. Barry was a disappointment in '89. Barry was a disappointment in '95. Is Barry ever going to learn his lesson? Barry actually made somewhat of a similar landfall in 2001. Like he did in 2019. Barry was just an embarrassment in 2019. Like, how is that thing a 75-mile-an-hour Category 1 hurricane? Let's look at Barry. Let's look at, hold on. Let's look at Chantal. I don't think Chantal's been used that much. Chantal has been a name since 1983. It's been a hurricane twice. 1983 and 1989. Chantal was a disappointment in 1983. It became a hurricane, but it was a disappointment. Category 1 hurricane. I wonder what Chantal replaced. I actually really wonder. Hurricane Chantal. Both times Chantal's been a Category 1 hurricane. This is what Chantal looked like in 1989. A disorganized mess. Hold on. I'll look at Marco here in a little bit. I'm wondering, okay, wait, 82, 81, 80, wait, okay, 82, 81, 80, 79, 78, 77, 1977 Atlantic hurricane season. Hold on, I'm gonna see this. Babe, no, Clara, apparently. Apparently Clara. I don't know. There were such weird names in 1977. I mean, we had Hurricane Babe, Hurricane Anita, which, by the way, was really bad. Everybody knows about Hurricane Anita. Whew, man, that thing was bad. I mean, look at this monster. I mean, this is Hurricane Anita. That thing's a monster, bro. Devastated Mexico. But yeah, that thing was a monster. Anita was a monster, bro. And you got Hurricane Babe. Don't even take that thing seriously. You're like, hey, babe. Hurricane Dorothy. What happened to Hurricane Dorothy? Why'd they get rid of Hurricane Dorothy? The only thing we had left of the Wizard of Oz. Frida. Wait, we actually kept Frida, I think, didn't we? Didn't we keep Frida? I could have sworn we kept Frida. Did we keep Frida? I think we kept Frida for a while. Hold on. Let me check this. Did we keep? I think I could have sworn we kept Frida for a while. Frida's only been used once, really? I could have sworn Frida was used in like the 90s and 2000s. I'm gonna see this here. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's when they kind of made the modern list, and I guess that's why they didn't replace. They kind of replaced Clara, even though it wasn't even a retirement. Maybe they'll bring back Clara eventually. Who knows? Maybe they'll bring back Babe and Evelyn and Dorothy. I hope they bring back Dorothy one day. I think Gabrielle's been kind of an old storm. 1989 reached Category 4. Man, I'm telling you right now, bro. If that thing would have made landfall in the U.S., that thing would have gotten retired, bro. That was Gabrielle, because Gabrielle came right before Hugo, and that was the replacement of Humberto. Hugo got replaced with Humberto, which is the name that we still use today. So. But it's kind of something though that Gabrielle's like been kind of depressing ever since. Try Gary.
Hey, that actually was a storm in the south in the typhoon season. I think a lot of these like typhoon names, like Chuck, Deanna, Gary, Helen. I know we stole this name. Nina, that'd be a cool name. Angela would be kind of a cool name. Ted would be a cool name. Val would be a cool name. Dan would be a cool name for the Atlantic. I'm telling you, a lot of these names in the West Pack should be considered for the replacements of a lot of names if they ever get replaced. Mark, Ivering, that'd be great. Polly. I think a lot of these actually should be names in the Atlantic, not gonna lie. I know we stole Oscar. We kind of stole Oscar already, but we need Angela. We need a Hurricane Angela. I tried Justin. There was nothing that came up with Justin. I'm telling you right now, Manny actually would be a good Atlantic name. Hold on a minute. How long's Imelda been a name? Imelda's only been a name once. That's kind of depressing. I'm surprised that Storm didn't get, retired. Like, how in the world did Imelda not get retired? Can someone explain to me how that Storm did not get retired? It did? Are you sure it got retired? Because I don't remember them saying anything about it getting retired. It did not get retired. Because, see, look. Despite the name causing substantial damage, the name Imelda was not retired following the season, making Imelda the second costliest Atlantic tropical cyclone name on record to not be retired. How in the world did this storm avoid retirement? What kind of alcohol is the National Hurricane Center drinking? Because the storm should have been retired. Sally didn't get retired. Sally did not get retired, Justin. Let's just have, like, in 2026, I think. Yeah, 2025. No, 2025, I think, is when we'll have our next Imelda. But, like, I can just imagine this. In 2025, I can imagine Imelda being, like, a very strong Category 5 hurricane, and then it finally gets, retired. Hold on a minute. I'm gonna try and wait. What was the replacement? What name did Imelda replace? Wait. 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. 20. Wait. I'm confused. 2013. Hold on. Ingrid. Yeah, I was thinking Ingrid.
I forgot that Ingrid got retired. So like, yeah. So Imelda is actually the replacement of Ingrid. So there's that. Okay, let's look at the National Hurricane Center. It's not out yet. The advisory is not out yet. I like how the National Hurricane Center's like, Hilda is still a hurricane. But yeah, that's what storm I was talking about. Ingrid was actually a pretty old storm, actually, I think, wasn't it? No. Apparently it's... apparently it... well, actually, come to think of it, I think its debut was in 2007. So it was only on there for like 2 seasons. Hurricane Ingrid. That was the replacement. That season was depressing, not gonna lie. Karen. I actually wonder how long Karen's been a name. $1989? Bruh. It's only been a hurricane twice. Both as like Category 1 hurricanes. Oh god, Karen's gonna make her revenge one of these days. I'm gonna hate it. Oh god. Yeah. Okay. Lorenzo. How long has that been a name? Lorenzo's been a name since 2001. With 2019 obviously being the strongest it's ever been. Hey, it's been a name since 2001. It replaced Lewis. I don't know if y'all know that, but it replaced Lewis. Lorenzo replaced Lewis. We all know Lewis. Melissa was like the one that ended the M curse, if I'm not mistaken. Melissa's been depressing every single time. Melissa is a depressing storm. Look, Melissa in 2007, a short-lived storm. Melissa 2013, a short-lived storm. Melissa 2019, a short-lived storm. Let's see here. 2007, Melissa was 40 miles an hour. 2013, Melissa was 65 miles an hour. 2019, Melissa was 65 miles an hour. Melissa has been depressing every single time. I've actually wondered about Nicole. Let me look. Nicole's only been used since 1998. Let's go ahead and look here at the National Hurricane Center. As you can see, got the new outlook it's in. Still basically the same. Of course, nothing's really kind of changed at all.
You can see it's the 5-day graphical weather outlook. As you can see, it's going to kind of go a little bit more to the west of the Cape Verde Islands, but it's relatively stayed the same. Eastern Pacific, we now have an 80% chance with this invest right here. So a low pressure system associated with the remnants of Tropical Depression 9E is located more than 1,500 miles west-southwest of the southern tip of the Baja California Peninsula. The associated shower activity is showing signs of organization, and environmental conditions are expected to remain conducive for additional development over the next couple of days. Tropical depression is likely to form tonight or tomorrow, or for my case today, while the system moves west-northwestward to northwestward at 5 to 10 miles an hour. By late Thursday, the system is forecasted to move over cooler waters, and further development by that time is not expected. Formation chance through 40 hours and 5 days is now at a high 80%. And the area that we need to watch over here now has a 30% chance of cyclone development over the next 5 days. Area of low pressure is expected to develop a few hundred miles south of the southern coast of Mexico late this week. Environmental conditions are forecasted to be conducive for gradual development thereafter, while the system remains offshore and moves west-northwestward at 10 to 15 miles an hour, roughly parallel to the coast of southwestern Mexico. Still a formation chance of 0% through the next 48 hours, but the chances have went up for the 5 days, now up to a low 30%. Central Pacific, still quiet as ever. Atlantic, still watching that AOI. But yeah, pretty quiet as of right now in the Atlantic. But you still got Hilda, you still got Ignacio, you know. That's how it is. That's just how it is. I think Olga replaced... I keep forgetting what one Olga replaced. Oh yeah, Opal. It replaced Opal. Olga replaced Opal. I forgot about that. Rebecca obviously has never been used, so of course you can't really look that one up. It's only been used once. That was 2019. Same with Sebastian. We've never used Tanya. We've never used Van, and we have never used Wendy. So. I'm going to look at something here for the 2020 season. I think what I'm going to do is we're going to look now. We're going to look at this here. We're going to look at Arthur first. Alright, we're going to look at Arthur. I think I've searched this up in the past. Arthur has been a name since 1984, and it's only been a hurricane once, and that was in 2014 when it was obviously a Category 2. Like, literally every single time, up until 2014, Arthur was a tropical storm. Even in 2020, Arthur was a tropical storm. It's only been a hurricane once, and that was when it was a Category 2. I remember tracking Arthur, too, in 2014. I was a stupid 8-year-old tracking hurricanes. But yeah, it's only been a hurricane once, so it's kind of depressing. Not gonna lie, that Arthur's only been a hurricane once. But I remember tracking Arthur, and let me look at Bertha. I think Bertha's really old. Bertha is really old. 1957. Like the first year Bertha was used was in 1957. And it wasn't used for, let's see here. It wasn't used for 30 some years until 1984. And then it was used 1990, it became a Category 1 hurricane. Then it became a Category 3 hurricane in 1996. And it became a long-lived Category 3 hurricane in 2008 and became a Category 1 hurricane in 2014 and was a depressing 50-mile-an-hour tropical storm in 2020. I want to know something here. I'm going to check the GFS here in a second, but I'm going to check something here. I want to see how long Cristobal has been a name. Tropical storm, Cristobal. Cristobal's only been a name since 2002, and it's only been a hurricane once, and that was also in 2014. And I completely forgot about this, but Cristobal actually replaced Caesar. Everybody remember Caesar? Yeah, Cristobal replaced Caesar. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Caesar like a Category 1 hurricane, and then it like became a Category 5 or 4 or something in the East Pac? Because like it became Douglas, and it like they didn't replace Douglas, but they replaced Caesar for some stupid reason. Because I remember we still use Douglas. We literally used Douglas last year. But, like, they replaced Caesar. But we've been using Cristobal since 2002, so it's been a tropical storm every time except 2014 when it was a hurricane. So I think there will be a day in sometime in the future where Cristobal will probably get retired. It's just not going to probably be anytime soon. We've got like 5 years before we see Cristobal again, so maybe he or she, I don't know how you say it, but yeah. Let me look at the GFS here. I'm going to look at the GFS really quickly. Because the full run's in now, so I should be able to look at it completely. Well, that's weird. That must be a pretty strong tropical wave. Bro, what the frick? That's a weird tropical wave. Not gonna lie, that's a weird tropical wave. Alright, let's look at Dolly. I think Dolly's pretty old, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I knew it. 1953. It's one of the OG storms. We're still using Dolly. I knew it. It's one of the OG names. Dolly, I mean, that's insane though, bro. Like, Dolly was used in 1953. That's how old that storm is. Hurricane Dolly in 53 and 54. Yeah, Dolly actually should have been taken out in 2008, not gonna lie, because it made devastating damage. I mean, it didn't make devastating, but it was kind of bad. I mean, but like seriously, like the storm is so old. Like Dolly is like literally almost 70 years old. I mean, can you believe that, guys? The name Dolly being one of the OG names for the Atlantic Basin is almost 70 years old. Like the name has been used so many times, but it's hasn't been retired. So it's literally almost a 70-year-old name. The next time we use Dolly, it's actually gonna be hold on, 2026, I think. So Dolly is going to be, I think it's 2026. Hold on. Yeah, 2026. So, Dolly will be a 73-year-old name by the time we use it next time. I mean, that is absolutely insane that we still have one of the OG names, and that being Dolly. I mean, I personally believe Dolly probably should have been retired in 2008, but it didn't, so. Maybe the reason why they didn't retire is because they can't think of any D names to replace with Dolly. I'm just kidding. And then you had Edward, which I don't even really remember what how old that one is. (1984). Edward's only been a hurricane twice, and that being in '96 as a powerful Category 4 hurricane, and in 2014 as a Category 3. So, honestly, if Edward would have headed towards the East Coast, it would have been dead. It would have been gone. It would have been gone. Edward has survived multiple possible casualties. Even in 2014, he made a very close call, I think. Not really. It wasn't really a close call, but Edward, every time he's become a hurricane, he's always been this storm who stays out in the ocean. Like 1984, Edward doesn't even make landfall. He just dies. 1990, Edward is this disorganized mess. 1996, first time he's a hurricane, stays out to sea. Tropical Storm Edward in 2002 was actually the first time the storm Edward made landfall. It was such a weird track, though, too, so. But the storm has avoided a retirement multiple times. It stayed out more in the ocean than it has actually towards land, actually, come to think of it. And you got Faye. I don't know how old Faye is. Faye has been used in the Atlantic since 2002. It's not too old. It's only been a hurricane once. Pretty depressing. Faye's only been a hurricane once, and that was that inactive 2014 season. I mean, that's a weird track. I mean, look at that. It becomes a hurricane near Bermuda. It only costs like $3.8 million. What about Gonzalo? I think Gonzalo is not too old either. Gonzalo's only been used twice. Gonzalo's first usage was actually in 2014 when it was a Category 4. And then you had Gonzalo that failed to become a hurricane in 2020. It's kind of depressing. I mean, actually replaced the name Gustav. I keep forgetting if that's how you say the name, Gustav. I remember, well, I mean, I don't remember Gustav because I was like 3 years old, but you know, I've heard stories about Gustav. But yeah, Gonzalo is the replacement of Gustav, which was retired after the 2008 season. So. But it's kind of funny how Gonzalo becomes a powerful Category 4 hurricane in 2014, but then fails to become a hurricane in 2020. Like, that's funny. And then you got Hannah. I don't think Hannah's too old either. But, oh wow. The original Hannah name actually was Hannah, the Hannah. It's actually been used since 1959, but really the one that we use today has only been used since 2002. Like, so technically, Hannah's technically an old name, but at the same time, it's new. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird how it's kind of like, because we had a Hannah in 1959, but we didn't use it ever again. And then we made a modern version of Hannah in 2002, and we've been using that one since. Yeah, I know we have a tropical depression in the West Pac. See, Hannah was a hurricane in 2008 when it was Category 1, and then you have Hurricane Hannah in 2020, which was also a Category 1. Was Hannah in 2020 stronger? It was. Because the Hannah in 2008 was only 85 miles an hour. Our Hannah in 2020 was 90 miles an hour. So... So it was actually about 5 miles an hour stronger than Hannah in 2008, surprisingly. Isaias, I know we used this year for the first time. I forget what we got. I forget what the replacement was for of why we use Isaias. Hold on, let me go back 6 years. 2016. No. 2020, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 20. Why did we replace... Wait, no, it wasn't 2014 because we did not use the I name. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 2008, 59, hurricane. Wasn't it like Ike? Wasn't it Ike? It was Ike. I know it's Ike. Yeah, it was Ike. Yeah, Isaias is actually the replacement of Ike. So, There's that. If y'all didn't know that. I wouldn't say we're gonna have a neutral August. You gotta wait. I mean, keep in mind, 2017 was like this, and you know how bad that season was. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. But, I mean, you may be right, but we'll have to wait and see. Alright, what else is there? I think Josephine was used for the first time. Kyle was. Laura wasn't. Marco. I'm gonna look at Marco. Actually, wait. Let me look at Josephine. Let me look. Josephine's been used since 1984. It's only been a hurricane twice, so. Alright. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this stream here, guys. I'm probably gonna try and do another one tomorrow, of course. Yeah, I've been doing this stream for 3 hours and 48 minutes. So I'm just gonna go ahead and end the stream. So thank y'all for watching, and it's like 2 a.m. I need to go to sleep. So yeah, peace out, and hope you have a great night. Peace. I'll try and be live again